MMA Roadshow, episode number 129. Whoa. My name is John Morgan. Cold Coffee is back with me. We are in Las Vegas.
Where we at?
You know where we're at. It's Thirsty Thursday, baby. We're at Boomers. That's what we do at home. And you know what? It's about 2:30 in the afternoon. We got
day drinking.
We got some day drinking going on. I mean, I had to pay the price to do this. I had to start working at 4 o'clock this morning. But you know what? I'm not going to lie. I'll take a 4 o'clock in the morning start just to be off at 1 o'clock, heading to the bar, putting the headphones on, getting ready to do a little podcasting, and drinking some cold, frosty beverage.
See, I was off today, even though I felt like I have a problem. I can't get away from the computer regardless, so I feel like I still had to log on, check, make sure, there weren't any fires that needed to be done or whatever. So today, I can easily say, hey, day drinking, that's what you do on a day off. That's what you do. Hey, but should we say right off the bat, we're not alone.
Absolutely,
we're not
we
alone.
should say that. I was setting that up. You thought I was just gonna leave him sitting there?
Nah, man. I was just like, we're just gonna leave him drinking. We're just gonna leave him drinking. But who's with us?
Special guest over here, the infamous Russ from Boston. How you doing, brother?
Doing pretty good here in Vegas, and I got to say that Boomers is a place to be if you come here. Is it as fancy as anything on the Strip? No, but the beer is the same, and the beer is just as good.
That's right. I think fancy's never been used in connection with Boomers, but we take it like that. But
I feel like everybody when they walk in, they kind of get maybe taken aback a little bit from the outside, especially. You're probably like, I don't know about this place. It's a little bit sketchy looking.
Yeah, because when I first heard about this place, I heard it was like a biker's bar, and there used to be a bunch of motorcycles. So when I used to drive past there, I'm like, that place looks like it's tough as shit. I was like, but then I was like, I gotta go see. Yep. I gotta go in there, and it's got that neighborhood feel, the dark sort of divey feel that once you come in, you're like,
your eyes take a moment.
It does take a moment to adjust, but once you come in, you're like, okay. I think everybody has a place like this somewhere at some point in their life, back home, the neighborhood watering hole, some sort of thing. So when you come to Vegas, to be able to find that, it's just like, it feels so right,
and not be paying those $8 bottles of Coors Light.
I think the term dive bar has a negative connotation, and it doesn't always. I mean, there's plenty of dive bars that are cool ass places. You can get good beer, nice people, and that's pretty much what matters when you go out to drink, right?
Damn right. They let you sit in the corner and do your podcast and don't say anything to you.
Don't say. You plug in, use their power. They turn the audio off. I mean,
they treat us like royalty up in here. Can't beat that.
I like it.
All right, man. We're glad you're here, Russ. Thanks for stopping by on your little vacation, and you know what you're going to end up talking about. You came at the right time. Let me just first say, by the way, this is my 6th week in a row at home. This is my 6th week in Las Vegas for a road show. I'm not getting on the road very often, but that changes next week. I'm back. I'm hitting San Jose. You're hitting Tokyo. You're doing it big time. We'll talk about all that stuff later. But let's just jump into it, man. It works out perfect. It almost looks like a perfect plan that you're here for this because Jon Jones, certainly, I'm going to guess not one of your favorite fighters, or maybe it is. We just know you're
he's not.
We just know you're a big DC guy.
Yeah, DC's my guy.
So, I mean, being a DC guy, does that make you automatically hate Jones because that's his rival, or have you just come to hate him because of all the shit, basically?
All the shit, pretty much. And you know what? I guess I drank a little bit of the Kool-Aid after the fight when he was being respectful and he was talking very, very highly of DC, and then he was on the Today Show, and I was like, okay, this guy could potentially turn the corner and become a much bigger superstar if he gets that Brock Lesnar fight. And then the news comes out, and I'm like, same old Jon Jones shit, same shit again.
And I think that's what people. All right, so let's start with.
But you're right though. That post-fight speech was awesome.
Yeah.
I think if people weren't Jones fans, he moved a lot of people to make him Jones fans. But it was the same thing before he got into trouble. I mean, he sells the story really, really good, and he says all the right things, and that's the biggest shame of it. And I know we'll talk more. That's the biggest shame about it because he's such a talented dude. But you see, he clearly has the tools to become a superstar. He's got the looks, he's got the brains, he's got the everything about him to make him huge. But after that fight, I was like, man, even if I was just strictly on DC side, I would appreciate how Jones carried himself after the fight. And that's
just
what's
like
unfortunate.
DC fan number one, and he's saying he was.
So I mean, that's huge.
Well, let's start at the beginning. let's talk about the reaction to the news itself, right? I mean, what we learned this week, it's not like we didn't expect the B sample to come back positive, right? I mean, I think most people knew.
Not the way that Nowitzki and those guys were selling it,
The B sample's 99.9% going to come back the same way. So that, to me, wasn't necessarily news. But last night we found out, okay, the UFC has made a decision. First of all, I guess it starts with California. California has made a decision. They're going to overturn the result. Therefore, the UFC is making a decision as well. They're going to strip Jon Jones of the title. They're going to give it back to Daniel Cormier. I guess let me just start there with your reaction. When you first heard that, Coach Coffin, we'll start with you. I mean, were you surprised? And does it feel maybe a little bit rushed? I mean, does it feel like we're not letting things play out a little bit?
I think every fighter is afforded due process. As they're trying to use that and trying to make sure that actually is a real thing. And since there is still the possibility of an appeals process, you want to make sure that something comes out and they're like, okay, maybe something that they don't want to, but I don't see USADA changing it, unless there's some sort of thing. Because the only thing that they would change their thing is if they go back and find out there was some fault in their system, and they're so strict in how they do things. Everything we've heard about the handling of samples and all this other stuff, that there's not going to be some breakdown of structure for them to turn what they've done.
So that's not going to change.
Science at the highest level, and that's the biggest thing about it. Is, I mean, no matter what you feel about whether you believe it or not, whether he did it or whether it was a tainted substance, you can't deny the fact that science and there's a strict regime about how these guys do the things. Science took place, and science found that an illegal substance was in this sample. So you can't discount that. So I don't see that overchanging anything. But Dana did come. We were all there the day. We happened to be there after the Tuesday night fights, and Dana was so upset, all these cats. And Dana said point blank, if it comes back that the shit's legit, we're stripping them. So you knew it was going to be eventual, that it was going to happen, and the UFC and especially Dana, those guys, are renowned sort of hotheads when it comes to it. I don't want to, maybe that's not the right term, but when shit happens, they make emotional decisions, very, very quickly. Yes. And I think what we see now is a huge emotional decision to try to get ahead of it. I think they've been trying to fight the stigma that this sport is inundated with cheaters and people using. So I think what they're trying to come out is with the stance that if you cheat, you're going to pay for it. And the quickest way for them to do that is to strip the belt immediately and go back, because in their eyes, that sampling of the B, they waited until the B sample got it. So in their eyes, that was as much testing or as much confirmation of the first thing that they needed. Beyond that fact, they realized that, hey, there's nothing that's going to change this point. USADA has it as a failed test. Regardless, boom, let's take the steps and let's strip them. But it just sucks because since the appeals process hasn't played out and there maybe could be something, I mean, I'm always amazed about shit. Just like we thought there was going to be no way that Diaz and those guys were going to get shit from the NSAC, the nutsack, return and, overturn and all that kind of stuff. And I like those guys. I'm just joking because every time I say NSAC, I just want to say nutsack. The fact that
very mature.
That got overturned, you never know what can happen in this sport. And there's incredible lawyers and things that can get involved. And it could still go that way.
It really could be a tainted supplement. We saw a tweet today. I swear on my kids. I swear on
have they suggested what
Father.
They think it is?
No, I mean
you can't pull out the dick pill when that's been used.
I know.
One and done.
That's the thing is that it could be a tainted. I mean, there is a real chance that this guy is innocent, but I don't know. Am I just being naive to think that?
I don't know. That substance, I would argue from what I've read about it. You're not going to find that substance in any fucking supplement at all. If anything else, there is only the possibility that a combination of certain elements, when put into the body, can possibly combine to form something that maybe resembles. But, I mean, these guys are scientists. They can get that shit down. I mean, they break down the fucking...
I believe he had something illegal in his body. I believe something illegal is in his body. I definitely believe that. I don't think this is a false test, a false positive, whatever you want to call it. I believe that.
Right.
I just wonder, and here's the thing, I just wonder if it could be something that he did buy over the counter, that he did buy thinking that it was okay. Now, here's the deal. I still think, regardless of that, I still think the guy gets suspended minimum 1 year, maximum 2 years. I don't think he gets the full 4, unless they can prove that he definitely cheated, in which case they're going to throw the book at him. But even if he's able to prove there was something he took that he bought, I don't think it excuses him entirely, because Jon Jones, of all people, who was just coming off a suspension, should be so meticulous about anything that's going into his body. He should have everything tested. Dirk Nowitzki. Jeff Nowitzki has told us before, you can call him and you can ask him, what about this? Is this safe? Is this safe? And that might not mean that the lot is safe. You could still find out that you got a tainted lot of the product, but at least, the product, has been tested, has been third-party approved, all these things. I don't know if Jon Jones is taking those steps, and if he didn't, shame on him, because he, of all people right now, with millions of dollars on the line, with his reputation on the line, I mean, he should be more careful than anything. But I just feel like, as you said, Kokavi, I mean, there's due process left to be played out.
Right. And
I don't understand either the CSAC's rush to get this thing overturned. I mean, I get it, but let the process. The CSAC doesn't have to listen to what USADA says. They can have their own thing. But at least let the process play out. At least let him have his day in court in front of the CSAC. And from the UFC, I kind of get their position. I kind of almost think their position probably has to do to protect their own fall schedule, because they probably need to start setting up title fights, number one contender fights, things like that, and they don't know how long the season's going to play out. So I think, as you said, emotional decision. Yeah, I mean, they make emotional decisions. Yeah. They're pissed off, no question about it. And so Dana, as soon as he hears CSAC switches it, boom, that's easy. I strip you because that fight never happened. But I don't know. I just feel like, and again, maybe I'm being naive. But I feel like there's a chance that Jon Jones didn't knowingly cheat.
But that's the thing. I mean, I agree that there might be the possibility that he didn't knowingly take it. But the fact is, and everything I'm quickly reading on the internet in a matter of mere moments, is that this
you didn't go over that in show prep today during our pre-production meeting?
Is that, I mean, this is, this Turnbull, whatever, how you want to pronounce it, is a derivative of D-ball. D-ball is one of the old school fucking steroids.
That's that dude that lives down the street, right?
OD, dirty bastard D-ball. Xanabol. So it's not a normal thing that's going to be found in any fucking supplement at all. So even if it is, a tainted supplement, and maybe somebody out there can prove me wrong and maybe come with some facts that are much better than the internet facts that I just quickly looked up. There is no way for that to be in a supplement unless it's just an illegal supplement to begin with. Like, I mean, unless there's, I know a lot of fighters go out there and they're like, I went to fucking, what's that, GNC.
Right.
And you don't know. A lot of these people out there will claim this product does something. Those motherfuckers aren't going to be giving away fucking steroids and their fucking shit. Like whatever product, there might be a combination of things. But for this particular substance, which is a derivative of a well-known steroid, if that is in fact the only way that this comes about, there's only one way you're going to find it in a supplement, and that supplement itself was an illegal supplement. It's not just going to naturally, it wasn't like, hey, it processed at the same plant, and somehow it happened to be getting in there, because nobody's processing this shit at any place that's producing legit supplements.
Right.
So whether or not he meant to take it, that's the thing, unfortunately, with this, and I guess that's when you separate the science part of things, and then when lawyers and people trying to prove, motive in murder cases and all that shit, is it murder? It's murder if there's motive, and there's that thing. If nothing else, it's still a homicide. There's still a death. You can't discount the fact that a death took place, but you discount the motive.
That's a great way to put it.
So in this way, there's still a fucking illegal substance in his body. There's a dead body in his system. He's a fucking cannibal. Breaking news. Jon Jones is a cannibal. But you still can't discount the fact that there's a substance in the system. Whether he meant to take it or whether he didn't mean to take it is, in a sense, besides the point, because it doesn't change the fact that it was in his system when he was tested, and they're not testing. I guess it's not like you get off because I guess sometimes they prove leniency when somebody's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know what was going on, I didn't mean to do it. Whereas maybe sometimes you feel like if a guy just came out and said, I'm sorry, I fucked up. Yeah, I knew what I was doing. I made a mistake. I'm early on in the game. Take a little leniency. But in this case, it's been It's happened before. I'm sorry, I took a tainted supplement. Oh, here I am again. Took a tainted substance. But now this supplement, like this shit, doesn't get into supplements. Mm-hmm. This is a derivative of a steroid. There's only one way that this is gonna get into your thing, and that's you're messing with fucking steroids.
How many times does this guy get the benefit of the doubt or cut slack though? Really,
that's the hard part.
And I hate it because I like Jon Jones. I want to believe him. Maybe he's just got a shitload of the wrong people around him. And there's all that possibility. But you got to know every fighter we've seen. That's why I mean like Francis Ngannou, Joe Lozon, half these other cats we hear, and they're just like, I don't fucking take supplements. It's too risky. You know, go out there and do like the old school. Just eat some whole foods, real foods, and just work your ass off and then go from there. You know, once you're starting to put in any sort of pill, any sort of anything in there, you're opening yourself up to this. And it can only go so far, and you can only say, I'm sorry, I didn't know what I was putting in my body so long before it finally rears up, and there's just no excuse for it.
Francis Ngannou just absorbs the souls of the vanquished. That's
Dude,
where he gets his power.
When are they going to give that motherfucker a fight?
We got to. All right, Russ, being DC fan number one, let me ask you how you feel about him getting the title back. I mean, logically, it makes sense, right? I mean, if it's a no contest, that means the fight didn't happen. You strip the belt. You hand it back to the guy that had it. I almost feel bad for DC in a way because you know whoever he fights next,
again.
Fans are going to torch him, fighters are going to torch him. But I don't know. What do you think? Is it the right move? Does it make sense?
Selfishly, for me, I believe it is because financially, it is a big difference in coming into a fight as a champion and not coming in as a champion.
Point. That is a fantastic point.
I mean, he's going to come in, and if he's defending a title, and if he's on a big card, it's going to make a big difference in his paycheck. If he's not, like,
that's a fantastic point. You know, take what you think about whether he quote unquote deserves to wear the title. The guy doesn't deserve to have millions of dollars taken out of his pocket if he was fighting somebody that was cheating. That's a great point.
Yeah, what was his disclosed pay? $1 million, whatever else he made on the pay-per-view, and supposedly the pay-per-view did better than expected. He probably, who knows what he cleared in multi-millions, probably 2, 3, 4, maybe something like that.
Yeah.
But if he went into that fight without the championship, it would have just been the purse and whatever else he could have negotiated. So I mean, selfishly, I mean, yeah, I mean, he's beaten every other guy not named Jon Jones, and Jon Jones beat him this time with with help from whatever he used or whatever the deal was.
Soul.
Yeah,
I think he stole his soul in this.
But
fight.
DC has beaten every other guy and every other guy that's been in front of him, heavyweight, light heavyweight. He's had some some wars. He's had some not so exciting fights, but he's always got it done. Other than this fight, I thought he was winning the fight 2-0.
Good.
Mm-hmm. But and at worst 1-1, and I could see how somebody else could have said but it was a very close fight, and from somebody close to him told me he was winning until he wasn't. He was doing good until he wasn't.
Yeah,
you know?
True.
He came out with a great plan. He looked really, really sharp.
He looked really good.
I think he came out and said publicly, right, that he doesn't want to fight until 2018.
Yeah, he was offered a fight and he turned it down. Yeah, he's not ready.
He should.
What do you think now, knowing that he's a champion again? Because I think that changes who you can fight, right? I mean, when you're not the champion, you can kind of fight whoever. You can go down and take a quote unquote warm up fight or a rebuilding fight. What do you think makes sense next for him, man? You got Gustafsson out there who was trying to set up the rematch with Jon Jones. You got Volkan Ozdemir who's climbing up the ranks, thinking he deserves something. What do you think? What do you think makes sense for DC?
The last Gustafsson fight didn't do too well.
Yeah.
If he fights Ozdemir, that'll probably do worse. DC's at the point where he said he only has 1 or 2 or 3 fights left, and he wants big fights. I don't know what is a big fight for him though. That's going to really cash him a big paycheck.
Kane.
No, that'll never happen.
I don't know. You're right, man. It's sad, right? I mean, I don't know what does good for him.
It sucks because there's not many. There's really. I mean, is there a big fight out there for him that would draw really well? I mean,
you got Glover and Misha Serkinov that just got moved to December. I mean, but again, you're just talking about a name, a fight. You're not talking about money.
And that's what's motivating him too, because he's only got a couple fights left, and he wants him to be as big as he can. But I mean, what else is there for him to? I mean, what pay-per-view? Who would he fight there that would do over 400,000 or 500,000
I'm
pay-per-views?
looking at the MMAjunkie rankings, and I'm
Bader and Davis are no longer
they're gone.
there. Gustafsson,
Teixeira, Ozdemir, Manoa coming off a loss, Serkinov, OSP, obviously Krylov's in Russia, Shogun.
I mean, what there would draw?
Tough spot.
Everybody wants to see Marcin Tybura fight Daniel Cormier. Can I fuel the flames of speculation and just be the internet asshole? You know, one of the side effects of the steroid found in his system in Jon Jones' system? Hair loss.
Does Jon Jones lose his hair?
No, but he came in shaved head this fight, didn't he?
He shaved his head, you dumbass.
He just shaved his head. But he never has. Has he ever? When was the last time he was fully shaved?
He did it on Periscope, didn't he? Yeah, he did like a Periscope where they were cutting his hair and everything.
There was a reason.
Oh my God, there's a reason.
He shaved his head.
This guy's a videographer, not a journalist. Holy Christ.
He was getting sporadic nutsack hair loss.
All right, what do you think?
All
right, what do you think? What do you think, Cold Coffee? As far as I mean, we're just wild speculation here. We still don't know all the facts, so we're speculating. How long do you think he's going? Because Mike Winklejohn came out and did an interview with Submission Radio this week. Our friends down in Australia. He said, "Listen, if Jon gets to 4 years, I wouldn't be surprised if he walks away from the sport." You and I had talked about the same thing. I mean, it's hard to, even though he's only 30. How do you keep training for 4 years with no money coming in? How do you keep yourself in peak shape? Not only that, if he gets 4 years, I mean, is Dana going to want to deal with them? Is anybody going to deal with them?
I think they would deal with them, but I could see them seeing in 4 years.
So what do you think? What do you think? You think he gets the full 4 years?
I think they'll probably slap him hard with it.
Wow.
I mean, I'd be fine if they gave him the 2 years if it comes out, whatever. But I could see him trying to make a point and just say, "We've had enough. We're pissed off."
I think it's 2 at most. It's 2 at most.
Well, he's got a manager that's been able to negotiate, suspensions down for other guys, right?
Yep, Malky's got a history of dealing with the commission before, dealing with USADA before. I think he gets 2 years.
It makes sense that
I don't know, man. Maybe I just want to believe.
I can see him trying to throw the book at him.
Maybe I just want to believe. I don't know, man. For the guy to go on Twitter and just say, "I swear on my children and on God, I didn't take anything," man. I want to believe him.
Yeah,
I want to believe him.
I think we all do. But it doesn't.
I was gonna say, Russ don't give a
it just doesn't. But it just doesn't discount the fact that unfortunately it was in his system. You know, maybe he had the wrong people around him. I mean, it doesn't change the fact. I mean, it sucks because I think Jones is good for the sport.
Right.
Regardless of people love him or hate him, I think we need stars like that. We need characters, and the dude is just a fucking beast, man. I think what he's able to do in there is just absolutely incredible. I mean, when he's in and he's focused and he's doing it all, I mean, can't anybody beat him? I mean, like, don't look at the OSP fight as like an example of what like a good Jon Jones is. But I mean, I hate to think it, and I mean, and the fact is just seeing the people around him, a lot of people that I really, really respect, come out and say, "I know this guy personally." I don't know Jon Jones personally. I've worked around him for years or whatever, so I only know him from the side. So I'd hate to I won't speak on his character or speak anything like that. I just take him for his face value. But to see people that love the dude, know the guy, and are willing to put their name on the line and say, believe me, this guy isn't doing it, that says something. So I'd like to believe these people, and I'd like to believe Jon when he says it, but it doesn't change the fact that it was there.
I think what's really sad is that, let's say he does get the full 4 years. Let's say this ends his career. Let's say, for the sake of discussion,
I don't think it'll end it, though.
Let's say it does.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that even with all the shit that he's gone through, that he's the greatest of all time. I mean, you can stand it. You can put his resume against Anderson Silva. You could put his resume against Fedor Emelianenko. I don't know who else you would put in the discussion. Maybe you could say Royce Gracie, but that generation was so different. I don't even know how you can make the comparison. But I mean, this guy could potentially be the greatest of all time, and now, Russ, as you said, like the benefit of the doubt, how many times can you give that? I mean, you could conceivably saying this is the greatest athlete our sport has ever seen, and we don't know what, if any, of his career to believe, because we if you're caught as a cheater, I mean, that literally throws in everything that you've ever done, right? It doesn't just throw it you don't just go, "Oh, well, he was cheating for that one fight," but so scratch that off his resume. Look at everything else he did. I mean, when somebody's caught as a cheater, I mean, it throws into question everything.
How many fights did he fight under the USADA banner, the USADA era? Was it OSP and then DC?
Yeah.
So he didn't look great against OSP for his standards. He didn't make it to fight at 200. He failed this test. I mean,
yeah, because the first Cormier fight was before the.
Yeah, come on. I mean, I kind of have to take everything into question. I mean, he when the stringent test started, he looked great against DC in the last one, and he was on something. He didn't make it to 200. He didn't look great against OSP. I mean, I can't.
When you put it that way, it's hard. It's hard to argue with it.
Man.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I'm still waiting on all the facts. I'm still saying, don't rush to judgment.
Fuck him.
All right, I'll tell you one thing that's also a little bit disheartening. Did you guys see the other drug failure that was announced this weekend? Jesse Taylor.
Oh, yeah.
The guy, the comeback of all comebacks, the stupid decision he made to start his career in the UFC. He makes his way all the way back to the UFC. He wins this thing, $250,000, potentially changing his life, and then we find out something happened there. We don't even know the substance yet, but I got to say, that one kind of bugged me too, and it also made me wonder too, I wonder if that $250K is up in the air, because that's life-changing money.
Oh, because he had, what, 2 bonuses? Or what?
Because remember, that's how big the reward was for winning tough. It wasn't just a UFC contract. That's not retire money. That's not FU money, but that's life-changing money.
That's
I mean,
huge.
if somebody wrote you a check for $250 right now, you could do some different things in your life. I wonder if that's up for grabs, because that could be bad.
Well, I don't know too much about that situation, but just to get back on that Jones situation real quick, what happens to his purse and his fight of the night bonus? What
Fight of the
happened?
night bonus is definitely up in the air. I think his pay-per-view money he gets regardless. I don't think that's tied in.
His show up was $500,000
Yeah.
to $214. What happens to that? What percentage does DC get? Because he should get something out of it. I don't think it should just go to the commission.
And that's not the law right now, but that does. I agree. The Mark Hunt thing, and Mark Hunt, speaking of Mark Hunt, he just came out with a big, scathing article that he wrote. I think it's called Player's Voice. Is that maybe what it's called? It was an Australian website that's very much like what they call it, the Tribune or something like that. Or it's basically where athletes are given a platform where they can supposedly write in their own voice. Of course, they have a ghostwriter help write them. But he talked about that. It was a great piece. Again, we know where he stands on PEDs. But listen, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. That shit absolutely needs to change. The fact that if your opponent misses weight by half a pound, you get part of his money. But if he tests positive for steroids, you get nothing.
And he beats you half to death, like in a KO
That's
on
gotta
steroids,
change.
And you get nothing? Come on.
That's got to change.
ridiculous.
That's got to change. I got to start using my voice for that, man. You know what? I got to start we got to start doing some editorials. I said I was going to try to use my voice a little bit more, and I don't. But that's just dumb. That's just a stupid rule. If somebody's busted for cheating, there needs to be a financial penalty that benefits his opponent, the one who risked his health and safety by standing in there. Well, I guess there's another question too. I've heard a lot of people this week, especially with the Jon Jones news, say the USADA thing. I'm finally fed up with it. I'm done with it. It's too much. Do you guys feel that way? Because I gotta admit, I don't feel that way. I'm not saying that it's not a pain in the ass. I'm not saying that it's not frustrating, and I'm not saying that they get everything right. But I am not ready to say that we need to get rid of USADA. I still think it's a positive step.
I think so too. I mean, it's all about the health and safety of the fighters, and I mean, it sucks that it's a lot of fights have fallen out because of it, and I'm not a fan of potential anti-doping, and then it turns out it wasn't. I'm not a fan of them announcing it before it's like actually confirmed, but I mean, drug testing is needed, in my opinion. I mean, it was like the Wild West in Pride, and it can't be that way. It really can't. I mean, if it's a sport that we want to take as seriously as the NBA or the NFL, there has to be some sort of stringent testing, and the stuff they were doing before you saw it wasn't enough. The night of, I mean, so a guy could cycle off 2 weeks before a fight or whatever he was doing, and he'd be fine fight night. No, that's not right.
I agree with that, man. I'm kind of surprised the number of people I've seen backtracking and saying, you know what, I'm fed up with USADA. It is too much. We made a mistake. I don't believe that. I think for the long-term health and safety of the sport and the long-term health and safety of the athletes involved in it, I think this is the right thing. As frustrating and maddening as it may be, like you said, losing fights sucks. And I agree with you. It does kind of suck the guilty until proven innocent.
That's exactly what it is.
That kind of sucks to have to put that out there. I mean, I kind of appreciate the transparency to a degree because at least we know that this stuff's not happening behind closed doors. But I think there's got to be a different way to handle it. So, all right, well, listen, my frosty beverage is getting a little low over here. I think we're going to need to get a refill. And unfortunately, as great as Boomers is on Thirsty Thursdays, if we're not here at nighttime, when our girl takes care of it, sometimes we don't quite get the service. We don't quite get handled. She just walked by. She's super nice, and she I shouldn't say anything. So we're going to go to the bar and get our beers, which normally are delivered to us. In the meantime, earlier today I had the chance to talk to Bellator heavyweight Roy Nelson ahead of his Bellator debut next week in San Jose.
Did he give you grief?
I will be up there for that. He didn't give me grief.
Wow.
Wait, does he owe me grief?
Well, they always like to tease you.
He always Roy's Roy, but I was thinking if I owed him one or anything. But no, he didn't. He was good.
Nah.
He did have some
Him
harsh
and Jesse
words.
just like to bust your balls.
They do like to bust balls. He did have some harsh words for the UFC.
Ooh.
And, just it sounds to be excited for his new start. So while we re-up on these ice-cold frosty beverages on Thursday, listen to Big Country, Roy Nelson.
Roy, how you doing, sir?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Good to hear from you, man. I appreciate the time.
No problem.
Well, let me just ask, Roy. I mean, I know you're not necessarily the sentimental type, but what's the feeling right now ahead of this, man? It's kind of a brand new chapter in your life. Is it exciting? Something new for you?
Yeah, no, it's definitely exciting. I mean, you got to remember Spike and Viacom, and now they're just using Bellator. They're the ones that started, MMA in the U.S. That's how I look at it.
How about for you as a fighter, though? I mean, you've been in this game for so long. I gotta think it's kind of hard to always keep your motivation high and your interest high and all that when you're just kind of punching the clock sometimes. Does getting a fresh look, something kind of new, does it kind of spikes it up for you a little bit?
Yeah, no, you definitely, get in that mindset of, punching the clock when when you kind of go to work and you're kind of working for, a guy that, or an organization or whatever. Like when you go to work and you're like, man, gotta go to work today. Versus when you got a new boss and you're like, and the boss is like, hey man, this is what we're gonna do today. We're gonna do this, this, and this, and you're like just excited, and you're, they just want to take you to a whole nother level. That's exciting.
Nice. And I know it's still your first fight and you haven't even had it yet, but I mean, are you already starting to get that feel? I mean, are you starting to already see that, kind of effort from Bellator?
Yeah, no, as soon as I signed with Bellator, that very day, there was definitely an excitement and definitely a relief in, where you're just like, man, I can't wait to get out there and do this. I wanted to try to fight on the June card. And they didn't want me to do that. They wanted to wait to wait for the fall.
You were ready to go, though, huh?
I was ready. As soon as I signed in May, I was like, "Oh, what's your next card?" And they're like, "June." And I'm like, "That's the one I want to be on. Let's go."
That's awesome. Well, Roy, I want you to talk about your last couple of UFC fights, man. I mean, you had kind of mentioned behind the scenes that Bellator might be an option for you. Maybe this was something you could explore. I wonder. I mean, I don't want you to make excuses or anything like that, but was it tough to stay focused on winning and performing and fighting at your best level when there was kind of some, I guess, unhappiness behind the scenes and you knew that maybe your future was going to lie elsewhere?
The one thing with the UFC, the one thing I've learned is I've gotten beaten down pretty hard with the UFC where I learned that the belt, I used to love that belt. That was one thing that the belt actually meant something. But what I learned about the UFC belt don't mean shit. And I mean, it doesn't mean shit. And the reason why is if you can come off of losses, you can move up 4 weights, you can do whatever. Oh, we got super fights and shit like that. Or I'm a 3-time champion. I'm a lightweight and heavyweight, whatever you want to call it, and be like, it's the only one, like they can make up titles and do whatever. It's like almost like professional wrestling where it'd be like a TV championship. And the one thing I love about Scott Coker, and that's the one thing that made me do really well with even with the Ultimate Fighter, was a tournament format because it takes the politics out. I'm just not really good with politics. Politics is not one of my strong points, and I'll be the first to admit that. But when it comes to fighting, I know how to fight. And that's one thing I'm really good at. Is a straight fight.
That's interesting, man. I was actually reading an article today, I think it might have even been the New York Times, where, of all the things that have changed with the UFC, sponsorships and, whatever, I mean, everything, they were saying that might be the one thing that's made it the toughest, is that the meritocracy is gone. The right guy earning his way to the top is gone, and now it's kind of this money fight era where everything's about the spectacle and that sort of thing. I mean, is that kind of the one thing, do you agree with that? Is that like the one thing that's kind of screwing thing up, is that putting on money fights, so to speak, is a bigger deal than the right guy being on top?
No, there's nothing wrong with the money fight. There's not, I have no problem with the money fight, but just let's just not call it a championship. Money fights are money fights. I have no we use Conor versus Floyd. There was no belt. You know what I mean? You know, it was a make-believe belt. They're like, hey, we got this WBC, you know, $1 million belt. But it's not really a belt, so, you know, we don't really care. But it was just a good fight. You know, that it was a fight that a spectacle, you know, that you guys wanted to see, but which is okay. I'm okay with that. But I just don't like to hear, hey, we're fighting for the championship belt, you know, champion versus champion, you know, that type of thing. Like, let's be real here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, understandable. Well, let's talk about Bellator, man. You get in, they call you with the name Javi Ayala. I wonder what the preparation process is like for you, Roy, because, you know, you were in the UFC for so long and have been around the game for so long. You know, I imagine anytime the phone rang, you know the name that's on the other end, right? I mean, you know the guy. You've probably seen him fight. You've probably, you know what to expect, I guess. But what about this time? I mean, I imagine this was a little bit more of an unknown opponent. Did it make you scout a little bit differently or prepare any differently?
No, the one thing that I've kind of gone full circle because, you know, I've gotten excited again about fighting. So the thing about being exciting for myself is what can I do to show fans, you know, the Roy Nelson. So it's basically, how do you have to worry about what I'm going to bring to the table, not what I have to worry about Javi.
Fair point there. I do wonder, you know, and I don't mean to denigrate, you know, Ryan Bader at all, but, like, you know, he was saying, like, you know, I'm going to be exciting. You know, now that there's less pressure on me financially and I'm happier in my new home, I'm going to go show everybody a new Ryan Bader. And then he goes out and he has, like, basically the same fight with Phil Davis we had the first time. So I wonder, I mean, is it possible to, like, fight differently, you know, in the course of one fight? Or, you know, is motivation enough? Or you know, is it hard to teach an old dog new tricks, so to speak?
Not really, because, I mean, for me, I've always been exciting, so either way, so the only way I can go is being boring.
That's a fair point there, man. You're right about that. But I gotta be honest, man. I was surprised to see that you're 41. I don't know. I guess we're all just getting old together, man. Talk to me about what you're seeing for the future. No spring chicken, but still can compete. But how long do you want to keep doing this game?
You know what? My thing is to fight for a belt, you know, and I can't wait to actually fight for the Bellator belt. First, I gotta get through Javi, and then after that, I'll fight. You know, if I can fight for the belt on the 24th, I'll fight the belt for the 24th. You know, I fight on the 23rd, fight on the 24th. I'm ready to go. That's it. Just you know, Randy. You know, training with Randy. You know, Randy won the belt at 43, so you know, I'm like, I still got time.
That is true. That's a great way to look at it. Have you actually been? Has he been in the gym? Have you guys been working out together?
Yeah, no. You know, he came in a couple times during this camp, and you know, we talked and we worked a little bit. So, you know, he definitely got me excited and got my mindset, you know, right where, you know, it's just enjoy what you do. That's
very, very true, man. So, bottom line, you feel like you go in there, you put on a show. You start the campaign for the belt right away, even though it's only one fight, even though it's not necessarily the top-ranked guy. You feel like your name and your reputation, if you go in there and put on a show, should get you in a title fight?
I mean, it all depends on who you're talking about top-ranked guys. You know, if you're going off of USA, I think what you guys have a ranking, right?
Right.
USA? Right. Yeah, because I think you guys still have, like, Josh Barnett on there. And I think, isn't Josh, like, on steroids or something like that right now, suspended? Like, it all really depends on, like, who you guys actually, you know, like, what you guys consider ranking. Because, like, if you're using the MMA map, Javi knocked out Sergey's knocked out Overeem, Verdum, so then that means Javi's one of the, you know, and then he got to the age thing. So, I mean, if you just put your pen and paper, you're like, man, he's like number 3 guy in the world.
Fair point there. All right, Troy. Well, I always appreciate catching up. You'll actually be there in San Jose next week, so looking forward to it. I guess, you know, how do you see this thing going down? I mean, I know you want to put on a show for the fans, but does that mean going in there and stopping them early, or does it mean one of those back-and-forth slugfests where you show your iron chin? How do you see this thing playing out?
You know what? All I care about is I'm going to go out there and be Roy Nelson, and I'm going to get me a win. And that's all we're going to do for the fans is we're going to get fans excited, and I'm going to rub their belly. You can see me get up on the cage, and everybody's going to go pound belly rub, and it's going to trend on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook.
Welcome Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Roy Nelson in a good mood. You never know what kind of Roy you're going to get. Sometimes he's standoffish, but he was pretty open about everything. Strong words there. The UFC belt don't mean shit. Interesting stuff there. So we will be in San Jose, or I will be in San Jose, I should say. I don't get to do the awesome foreign trips like Cole Coffey does going to Tokyo, Japan.
Who's already got executive platinum this year? And
Me.
Yeah.
Well,
Who doesn't get the trips?
We're trying to help Cole Coffey get his executive platinum re-upped with American Airlines, and let's just say it's one of your favorite cities in the world, if not your favorite city.
If not, probably my absolute most favorite.
So
city.
Knowing that the company asked if we could do it with just one person this year to save a couple of bucks, I said, you know what, I will give up my seat and give it to Cole Coffey and let him handle it. So, all right, listen, should say, if you like what you're hearing, make sure you take a second to rate us, review us, go into iTunes, subscribe to us, give us a good rating, leave a comment if you will, positive, negative, hopefully positive.
Only the positive
couple
ones.
of words.
I got a program running on iTunes that just scrubs all the negative ones right off.
I love it. No wonder I never read too much negative stuff. Thank you, man. That helps my ego a lot, man.
That's what I said at home all day, is just trying to find a program that just code that shit.
Well, we certainly appreciate the positivity. It's fun for me to read those comments. Take a second. Should say that we're now on Audio Boom as well as part of the USA Today Sports
Podcast Network. Big things.
I don't know a whole lot about Audio Boom, but my programmer over here, my producer, Cole Coffey, is handling business behind the scenes. And it is pretty cool. It is pretty cool for them to be lining us up next to NFL podcasts and Major League Baseball podcasts. And
that's
treating
the neatest thing.
Treating us not like the bastard stepchildren that we are. You know what I mean?
I mean, we'll always be that way. We'll always be the little redheaded stepchild. No offense to those that actually are little redheaded stepchilds.
They're fine. I'm pretty sure that they've never listened to an episode, or they wouldn't actually have us associated.
I don't know if they have. And it's funny because I went in there, and at first they had changed, or they had the default setting is that it's a clean show. And I went back and I was like, let me put that explicit tag back on.
We try not to get too crazy, because if we get too crazy, my mom calls up and she says, "Can you please tell Mr.
Nobody
Coffey,
wants that.
Tell Mr. Coffey
She won't give me my peanuts, my snack of peanuts when I come visit." Your mom is like the sweetest thing. We go to Houston, I think was the last one that we went to, and John's mom had arranged like a little snack packs and stuff for me, like a bag of peanuts, and I think she had water and other little stuff. And it's funny because I never got around to finishing the peanuts, and I brought them back home. And old Agent H has like been munching on them. She's like, "I love these peanuts that you brought back." I was like, "That's from John's mom trying to feed me when I'm on the road." So yeah, I love it. So yeah, I don't want to face the wrath.
You don't want to.
Of your mom. You know, nobody wants to face somebody's mom. You know, when you're doing it. But it's funny. Yeah. So I had to go back and I tick marked the explicit just to cover our base, because ultimately, if you don't have that on there and people go to iTunes and they're like, "Dude, I'm listening to this show," they can complain, and we can actually get booted off iTunes.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you can actually get, if your show doesn't follow and you don't do it. I'm sure they usually, that's the extreme point of it, but you could actually catch a little heat from them if you are an explicit show and you don't actually label it as such. I mean, let's be real. I mean, I can see where maybe advertisers, you know, we have so many advertisers and stuff. I can see where people are just like, you know, hey, it's an explicit show. You know,
I was about to set up our partnerships.
Well, we can do that. I mean, because the type of advertisers that we work with, they understand. They understand.
What a transition there. What a setup. No, but check us out. If you want to try, if you use Audio Boom, then definitely use us there, because that's where I think USA Today is paying more attention to what we do.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to build something there. I mean, like, and you're right. You know, actually, if you go to our site on Audio Boom, on the left side of the thing, it'll say USA Today Sports Podcast Network, and if you click on it, it'll take it, and you can see, I think right now there's only 8 of them. There's like the Cardinals Wire, which is like a fan site dedicated to the Cardinals. You can see Junkie Radios in there, and there's a few other ones. But I like to think that the up-and-comer of the group, the MMA Roadshow, you know, we're getting some strong listeners and stuff, so we're trying to build that. And
that sharp new logo we got.
Yeah, that new logo.
I like it.
Nice.
You know,
good.
All the positive reviews, they help the algorithm, and they help you move up the charts, and that's how more people notice it too. You know, that's what you got to do. If you like the podcast, any podcast you like, it takes a couple seconds. Just go on and give it a positive review, and it really, really helps out. It really helps the shows out.
It's amazing what you can get for $20 these days, man. That was a nice endorsement.
But no, I appreciate it. Well, that's coming from a
$20
guy
you're paying for my beers? Woo!
Hey, that goes far here at Boomers.
It does. It does.
Yeah,
All right, so
it won't go so far at those strips, the strip bars.
No,
especially not a strip club, but the strip
definitely
bars.
not. All right, well, should say, too, Cold Coffee, being the fantastic producer that you are, you also remind me that I didn't even think about this. You have worked diligently behind the scenes to set up partnerships with two incredible companies,
Yes.
Amazon.com and Onnit.
Yes.
Because, first of all,
Because we're on it.
Amazon.com. Amazon.com, if you need to order anything from Amazon, which, let's be honest, we all have Amazon in our life, right? It's an amazing product. Just go to the MMAroadshow.com and click the link there and order through there.
Yep.
And they will give us a small little commission off of what you order. Just pennies on the dollar.
If that.
But it helps.
Everything
does
helps.
help.
Everything
Every little
helps.
bit helps. And we've got a similar setup with Onnit. You know,
Yep.
they Onnit. You know, I know that you would think that they would come to us, just the beacons of health that we are. You know what I mean? Just, you know,
That's how they sold it.
top fitness that we are. But we actually had to go to them. I actually do. Onnit products are pretty amazing. Some of the stuff they have are pretty awesome.
The main one on there that, you know, right now they have this new mood, and I think it's fitting because this is what I've been trying to get John Morgan on,
trying to get us in a new
trying to
mood.
get that passive aggressive under control, you know, and this new mood. Well, I mean, I'm much a better person because, you know, new mood has changed my life. Look at me. I'm like the beacon of happiness right now, unless I'm talking about dudes shaving their nuts in their heads to, you know, because of steroid use or anything on it. But no, if you go on there, and there's actually a code now that I just put on that today, get on it, so that if you are an active buyer of the Onnit products, you can actually get 10% off your next order, which is cool. But you can actually try a free product, the New Mood, where it's all about your controlling your mood, trying to balance your life.
They're giving out samples?
Yeah. I swear. That's why I'm going to get you on there. I'm going to get you on that sample because it's supposed to control your mood. You know, it's supposed to keep you evenly balanced and stuff like that. So if you're into taking the daily supplements, some people take the multivitamins. Like I take a multivitamin usually when I remember to, besides the other pills. But this is another one where you kind of get it in the regime, but it's kind of keep you mellow, keep you keep you balanced and stuff. And that's not even going into all the other products that they have about weight loss and energy and things with the weight, stuff. I mean, listen, nobody sells it better than like Joe Rogan and stuff, but this is one of the sites that's kind of reached out.
Part of the company, so that's
he does. But he pushes it really, really good. But it's one of those companies that were like, hey, can we throw an ad on your site? And if people, will click on it and do stuff like that, hey, we'll throw you some money. And it's like, well, fuck it, we could do it. It's not like we're getting anything, just to be blatantly honest and open, because that's what we do on the MMA Roadshow.
We've never tried to make a dollar.
And that's the thing. So it's not like they're like, all right, we're going to pay you X amount of dollars, put this on our site. They're like, hey, put it on the site. And if people click on it, and if people come to us and we'll get you something back for it. So that's why I worded. He's like, can you maybe say that if people are going to click on it, that we'll give you some money? I was like, hey, I can do that. And I'm not a wordsmith, so anytime you look at the site, it's mainly me speaking, and I write like I speak, and half the time it's misspelled and everything else like that. But go in it, check it. You can see it, all the stuff, and it tells you where to go, get your free product, get your supplements, get all that sort of stuff. And if you're going to go to Amazon, come to our site, click on it, all that shit. And even if it equates to one beer over a year, we're happy.
Amazon has everything. You can get anything on Amazon.
I'm telling you,
I don't even
everything.
I don't even like going to stores anymore.
Right?
Like,
Who
if I had
needs
the
to
option
anymore?
of I would rather wait a day. I mean, now they have Amazon Prime now, where you can get that shit delivered in hours. But even if I have to wait a day to get something, I'd rather wait a day than to have to take my ass to the store.
I get the Amazon Prime. I do the Amazon Prime, and I know you do the Amazon Prime. So it's usually most free shipping. And now when I order stuff, I'll look for the free shipping one. And even if it takes 2 days, 2 or 3 days, the Prime is good. The Prime, you pay a little bit of a premium to get some stuff. I mean,
but it's worth it. You get free music, you get TV shows. It's awesome.
No, I mean, like if you do the Prime now, so like say you want to order like toilet paper to come to your house, like you're paying a premium because usually I think you have to get the $35 mark.
I woke up one day laying in bed with Daniela, and I was like, I want to cook some chicken wings today.
I remember you telling me this story.
And I laid in bed with my phone, and I picked up Amazon Prime Now and ordered a fryer and oil, and they delivered to my house in like 2 hours.
See, I love it.
I've heard of this. I've heard
It's so ridiculous, but it is so incredible. I mean, they don't have the whole library, if you will, of all the products, but they do have very specific products that they have warehoused that they have that they can deliver it like that, and it's such an incredibly smart business model that they've done.
Amazon is
especially
fantastic.
to figure that out. They're like, all right, hey, to do the free shipping, they're like, hey, we're going to stockpile all this stuff in a warehouse anyways. And it's like, hey, why don't we create another service where they'll pay a premium, but we will literally have somebody come drive it to your house within 2 hours.
It's amazing.
And it's amazing.
Have you seen, number one, they're trying to make a distribution warehouse in Vegas.
It's going to be
really?
like, they want them to be like the next headquarters. I want to say it's
shit.
going to be like another headquarters.
That would be
somewhere in
awesome.
Nevada. I didn't know if it was going to be here in Vegas.
That would be awesome. And have you ever, dude, I saw a 60 Minutes piece on Amazon one time. The way have you ever seen like how they set up their warehouse, their distribution warehouse?
I've heard
sick.
stories.
It's all, first of all, it's
like
all
all
operated
automated,
by,
right?
It's all automated. Everything's operated by robots. So you have like these fucking drones and robots that just go get this. But also, even the way it's sorted, it's not sorted by any type of logical explanation whatsoever. Like if you look on the shelves, it's just random product after random product after random product, but it's all algorithms on frequency of orders,
the frequency of the order,
and where the robots can be at one certain time.
So I bet they change even the stocking thing depending
dude.
on the trends of how something orders. They probably organize it. I mean, but that's so efficient. That's amazing that they're able to. It sucks because you don't have people per se a lot of times picking. I'm sure they still have some people picking and choosing. I worked in a warehouse when I was a kid. Let me let you into the wonderful story that is cold coffee, because I told you I worked a million jobs. There was one time where I worked for
earlier?
Yeah, no, I won't. But I worked at one point at Victoria's Secrets in Columbus. I was a picker.
Oh,
and eventually I worked
bet you've done some picking at Victoria's Secret.
And I eventually was like driving forklifts and stuff in the warehouse and stuff. But at one point when I started in partial totes where we were pulling bras and panties. You would get an order ticket, and you'd have to go, and you would go find the different row that had the order of the bras and the panties, and you would pick it per order for the stores, and you would shake it and ship it out. And
so,
stuff.
Ladies, just know that Cold Coffee had his hands
touched
all over your drawers.
I done touched. They were packaged up. They were in little plastic things. I think they were.
Boo.
I can't remember. No, actually, they were actually in big boxes. So yeah, I might have touched your shit.
Are you a panty expert?
No, I've dealt with quite a few in my days. Bras even better. I could do like the one-handed take it off shit, whether in the front or back. You
That's
do a
skill,
one-hand take
yeah.
off. I learned that in high school. I got good with that.
Did you guys ever, like, you were working in the warehouse and you just have like a box of panties in your hand and you just drop it all of a sudden and be like, panty dropper, bitches?
No, but now I feel like I missed an opportunity. I do remember one time when I was driving a forklift, I did hit one of the riser things.
Oh, I thought you hit somebody.
No. But I did hit like the thing because the areas was stopping. I remember I knocked. It didn't knock like the big rack over, but I remember I dropped like a flat that had like a couple boxes of.
Dude, your life is like a sitcom. Why are we not?
Dude, I have
about this?
so many ridiculous.
Couple boxes of bras
bullshit.
or panties?
Bras.
Oh, so you didn't drop
it
a
could have
box
been
of
panties, but it was like flats, because like as you would like a section would come and the new orders would come, you'd have to load back up in the thing, because every once in a while they would take a box down and put it in the area, so when you're filling the orders, you just go to the area in the row and you'd be able to pick an order. But when the box was gone, you had to take that box from a certain
So
where
you were
it was
just
stuffed.
stuffing boxes right and
I
left.
was just stuffing boxes like mad.
You were stuffing panties.
Mad stuffing, and it's.
God.
But yeah, whatever.
This is
Just taking you back behind the veil that's made me the character that I am.
How is this episode turning into like New Orleans / Scotland?
He's had some interesting jobs over the years, huh?
Oh, he has, man. Worked at the head shop for a while. He's got the weed stories.
That's a whole nother.
All right, well, listen. This is actually, believe it or not, a fantastic segue. I did something new for the first time this week, talking about a company that I support and that I think is amazing, and I know that you don't. And F you, Apple. For the first time,
I'm on an Apple.
You are on an Apple,
yes.
but I know you're an Android guy.
I'm a Droid guy. When it comes to phone, I like the Droid.
Well, here's the thing. So
I can't afford your lifestyle.
they had their big reveal. They had their big reveal this week, right? Their big event or whatever.
This fucking guys.
I watched it. I actually watched it.
I know. The iPhone 10.
The iPhone 10.
But they also released. What else did they release at the same
8,
time?
There's an 8, an 8S, and a 10.
Where's the 9? Why they skip the 9?
I heard about
The
this.
10 looks dope. I'm not gonna lie.
No, I heard
10.
it does sound
It
good,
looks
but I
dope.
just love to bust balls.
I
I'm
know.
like, why are they gonna release 2 different phones?
I don't know how I'm
at
gonna
the
be able
same
to.
time?
I don't know how I'm gonna be able to afford it, but it looks
$1,000.
$1,000. It looks dope.
Well, I mean, even this phone, most places, it's almost like when you get the plan or when you do the thing, your phone, they're already sort of subsidized, or
Yeah.
So like this is like
They're not doing that anymore.
This is like a $600 or $700.
They're not doing that anymore.
You have to buy it outright.
Well, basically you have to buy that outright.
That's why they have like $4 billion in cash or
exactly.
some stupid ridiculous
So,
shit.
if you work at Apple and you got the hookup and you know how you can get me a 10,
they're probably trying
holla at your boy.
I bet they're trying to get ready for a
your
buyout
boy.
of something, so they're trying to come up with cash capital, and they're like, let's release
I
this
don't think they
new
make
thing.
that much. I don't think they make that much money. All right, but listen, I say all that even though you're a Droid user, and I don't know why you like revolt against Apple, but
I don't revolt. I can't afford that lifestyle, especially now. Now that I can't make payments on it, who can pay $1,000 out of their pocket?
I don't know. I'm gonna try to find a way, but I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to go.
Eli's gonna have to start working.
I'm gonna have to go drop my panties for somebody to get $1,000. Maybe somebody can help me out.
Hey, I could take you across the 15, drop you off at the old strip club. What is it?
You think they pay me $1,000?
Mayweather's Club. What's Mayweather's Club? Girl Connection. Girl Collection.
You think they give me $1,000 just to get off the
stage? Is
stage?
it collection or connection?
Collection.
Girl
Collection.
Yeah. Although I'm sure you go to Girl Collection trying to make a girl connection.
Hey, before you move off the iPhone thing, a good friend of mine told me he told me, he says, check it out. He says, go on YouTube and, like, you know how they do the whole video presentation for the new phones?
Right.
Go back and watch the one for the original iPhone. It's so interesting how different
how
everything.
it.
Oh my God.
I'll check it out.
How cool that was back in the day and how behind it is like now.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, everything now is so much. It was like what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Like the way they unveiled everything, it's unbelievable. Like how much of a game changer that was back in the day. And then you look at it and you're like, wow, that phone is so obsolete right now. Yeah, but it's. They do everything big time.
So
they
here's
do glass on front and back.
Like
super strong glass charging, or some shit.
Strongest glass ever. So I'm going to try to get the 10. So if anybody's got the hookup, help a brother out because I can't afford $1,000, but I want to try to get it because it looks dope.
Is it 10 or the X?
It's pronounced 10.
10, but it's an X, yeah.
But here's the other thing. So they also rolled out the new watch, but they rolled out the 4K Apple TV, okay? So the guy comes out and he does his 4K Apple TV presentation, and one of the things they started talking about was live streaming sports. Live streaming sports. I'm telling you right now, man. You know, we've been talking, everybody's writing the articles right now. Oh, man, the UFC got dicked. The WME got dicked on this $4 billion deal. Dude, Amazon just spent how much money buying Whole Foods? And as you said, man, with Prime, they've got streaming video. They've got streaming. I mean, they're getting into the streaming service, right? Now, Apple TV, I get my HBO and I get my Showtime through Apple TV. I don't pay DirecTV anymore. I still pay DirecTV, but not for my premium channels. And they're talking about upping their game. This new thing, it's 4K. It's got all, it's the greatest of the great. But they had a whole section that was all about live streaming sports, how they were going to really cater to sports fans and how this was going to be like the premier destination where you could go into the home screen and all the games that were available were going to have like, the score there and the time and what was left, and you can just flip. And I'm telling you right now, man, that UFC contract that's up for negotiations, in my heart, I still think they end up back with Fox. But it made me think because everybody's saying, man, there's not going to be these suitors. There's not going to be the money that they're expecting. Dude, I think the money's going to be there, man. I think Amazon and I think Apple would love to have UFC. Man, you talk about the demographic that the UFC caters to, man. Are you telling me that they wouldn't love to have live streaming content on their platforms?
Yeah, but people are going to have to – I mean, it's nice in theory to have this stuff. I mean, but for viewers even to do it, like everybody – you might enjoy your little data plan that you have at the house right now. You're going to need to up your shit. If you're going to start trying to stream – 4K, you're going to need any sort of plan that's anywhere 30 megs, 50 megs, download, and up. Because if you're going to try to do anything else, more likely you're trying to watch a show, your kid's going to be in the other room playing his game or watching Netflix, and you're talking about the bandwidth is going to be down. But, I mean, it's a huge amount of data that's going to be coming down. So, I mean, it's great in theory to say, oh, yeah, we can deliver it or whatever, but you as a consumer, what you're going to need up on your end to even be able to deal with this sort of shit, it's unreal. I mean, like, well, it's not unreal. I mean, because compression codecs and things that they're using now are getting better and better and better.
But that's going to happen. I mean, look,
it is going to happen.
It's not going over-the-top programming.
It's not going to go away.
That's the future.
Yeah, it's not going to go away by any means, but, I mean, that's what, if anything else, it's going to fuel the compression codecs and things like, because how do you take whatever right now, like when I shoot, say, a lot of 4K, I'm shooting at 100 megs per second, so most of these things, they're not going to be delivering at 100 megs per second when they're doing it. They're going to compress it down, but then they got to compress it down in a way that you don't have so much data loss so that it still looks like a 4K image and can be broadcast where there's no lag. Because who wants to watch a fucking thing where, like, oh, I'm watching a fight, and then you get that little buffering get that buffering.
Sure.
Like, there can't be any buffering, so it has to find a way. So I think as the technology gets better to kind of deliver
Buffer. No, you were talking shit
deliver
about
the streaming stuff. Everybody wants to see a picture of Buffer while they're just waiting for this shit. Mad pussy. Inside story. But I fucking love Bruce. I actually got to hang out with Bruce for a minute in Edmonton.
Oh, he's the best.
Yeah, he's a good fucking dude, and he was like getting ready to go like rape on some poker. He's like, yeah, I was gonna go do whatever. He's like, I think I'm just gonna go up my room and hit some poker. I was like, this motherfucker kills it.
Oh yeah.
If you guys don't know, like Bruce kills it on some poker.
He plays every chance.
And yeah, and he was telling me about some poker places that I had no idea. I was like, yeah, I have a World Series of Poker account, and I thought he was gonna like laugh in my face because he's been like so beyond it. He's like had all these other things, but like the dude is a non-stop like poker player and just like goes up into his room at night. I think a lot of people think he's out doing whatever, getting all crazy. If he's on the road, dude's in his room playing poker, making mad money, man. Dude is a really, really good poker. So if you're ever talking shit and Bruce offers to play you some poker for money, don't do it because dude's going to take your money. He's going to hustle your money. But as I'm talking about with like the streaming, the data, like as technology gets going, I think a lot of times when these new products come out, they're absolutely incredible. Just like 4K TVs have been out for a while, but nobody's really even utilizing half of it, the capabilities of it right now, because there's the delivery of it isn't there. When it comes to streaming, that's a whole other thing as technology and as the stuff comes up, because you know, now even my internet provider, I told you about Cox, they're putting a limit now on how much. Yeah, we were talking about Cox the other day, and then we were talking about dicks.
I wasn't.
Cox is our internet provider here in town, but they put a limit. They put a limit, and dicks is the other people, but they put a limit on how much data that you can use. It used to be unlimited. There used to be nothing that was doing it. And I think a lot of these guys are paying attention to the trends. They're paying attention to the fact that more data use is taking place over and over and over. Now they set it at 1 terabyte, which in the sense when it comes to just if you're just normal streaming, you should be fine. But for people like yourself and myself that are uploading huge data files, gigs and gigs and gigs of stuff, and then to have a girlfriend that goes in the other room and seems to not want to watch anything but Food Network shows that are archived on Netflix and Hulu, now I start wondering about it. So if another 4K stuff comes and everything starts going 4K, you're going to burn through your data plan like it's absolutely nothing. So while I welcome Apple talking about this 4K thing, until the technology really comes up to speed to really utilize it, it's just going to be a shiny toy that sits in the corner. Is not really going to get used like it can until the technology. But it takes stuff like this that drives technology to kind of keep pushing it. And if there's anybody, it's going to be Apple that's pushing it.
The Technology Roadshow has been brought to you by fucking...
I'm sorry. I'm a fucking geek, man. I'm a fucking nerd. I love this fucking
I guess
shit.
I'm just saying, to me, what it did was a staunch reminder that I think the UFC has options for their delivery of what comes forward. I think the UFC caters to the exact people that are technologically advanced. You know what I mean? And I think streaming, I think Amazon and Apple are going to get into the bidding for their services.
Well, I mean, when it comes to people that are going to move it and shake it, Amazon and Apple are huge. Same with Google. These companies are the type that move worlds. I mean, they literally can shape whole things. But what did you think about the immediate reaction of the UFC to drop New Line? They still have them for some things.
They're still using New Line.
They still use them, but they picked up a different provider.
I was about to mention that Fight TV, yeah.
Maybe I misunderstood. To me, that was just a new place to distribute their product. It's not. They didn't drop New Line.
The New Line is still tied to UFC TV.
Right.
But as for delivering pay-per-views, it made it seem like they picked a different provider to
that is
to
not
do
my
it.
understanding. And you know what? I'm glad you said something because I'm
you
not
should
saying,
follow up on
I
that.
don't think we misreported it, but I remember hearing that and seeing that, and I didn't read our exact report. And we're saying Fight TV now distributes the pay-per-views, but
yeah.
I think it's just an additional place.
I think it's an additional place, but as for it's an additional, but I think that might be when they want to hang their hat on and say, hey, there's a big thing. This is going to be the thing. But it made it seem to me that UFC TV is already tied to New Line, all the archive, all the other streaming. Like they have functions built into it. But it made it seem to me like for maybe pay-per-views or other aspects. Maybe if you want to buy a pay-per-view through UFC TV, it still uses the New Line because it's already built in. But it made it seem like if there's going to be another, I think maybe another
I just
element.
think the timing. I think the timing of that announcement was bad because it came right after the
Well, they
Mayweather
said it was
stuff.
the way that I read it, and I don't know what side I read it on. It made it seem like it was in response to the fact that they dropped
what
the
it
ball.
seemed like to me. It seemed like they went with somebody new. I had heard of Fight TV before, and Fight TV is a very easy app to use, and they have a lot of free content on there too. And I've noticed all over social media they've really been promoting that the pay-per-views are on Fight TV now. Yeah. And I know Canelo and Triple G is going to be on it too.
Yep.
And they stream boxing events on there. They stream weigh-ins. They stream pro wrestling. So it really is. It's a really cool app to use. I really do.
It is
enjoy
cool,
it.
and I've talked to some of the people associated with Fight TV because we've tried to figure out some things in the past. Because like Risen is one that I mean they're like I think the exclusive distributor of Risen, so we have to use them. And they've tried to explain everything to me. But my understanding was it was just an additional platform,
maybe
not a replacement platform.
So that if the one fails, you can go to the other one.
Just a new place to distribute it. You know what I mean? If some company's like, hey,
well, if that's the case, that was a
pay-per-views.
really poor time to release it because it seemed to me and probably a lot of people that it seemed in response to the fact. I mean, New Line. I mean, when I was at Ohio State working at Ohio State, New Line was the people we used. New Line. I mean,
yeah, they've been with UFC forever.
I mean, there's
never
very
heard of
few
them.
other people really before the UFC.
I never heard of them till that backlash about the bad streams or whatever.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of them before.
New Line's been one of these cats that they entered that whole arena early on, and for me was like the only ones really doing it. I mean, like all the time at Ohio State. Like when we streamed games, New Line was the people that were carrying it. So I mean, they really got their foot out there and did it. But yeah, I thought it was a gut reaction when I saw the statement that I did when they picked up the one. I assumed that they were switching from one to the other, but they were like, "Hey, we already have this established relationship. We're not going to get rid of them." But it makes sense if there's another thing. But I guess I don't know. It should be interesting. I mean, because if it is just another avenue, how are you going to advertise that? Say, all right, hey, come buy this from UFC TV, or instead go to just Fight TV.
I've seen a lot of social media push for Fight TV. A lot of social media push.
That was my understanding. It's just
they're actually like giving away like I know on Junkie Radio and other places they were like doing contests for like a code for free stream.
Yeah,
I've seen it all over my Facebook, but my Facebook is a lot of MMA stuff, so. I mean, obviously they target me, but I'd never heard
sharing their kids' pics.
I'd never heard of that New Line before that whole debacle with the bad streams or all that stuff. But Fight TV,
that was bad. That was a bad showing. And
Fight TV, I don't know if you guys knew this. I don't know if he's still involved with it, but Jim Ross, the announcer, was. I don't know if he was an investor in it or a spokesperson. I don't know if he's still with them now, but he was with them when they initially launched, and they were really like pushing it.
That's good.
The Google Android app is still. I mean, I could text somebody right now. I should probably just make a text and clear this up. But the Google Android app is newlion.smartphone.ufc. I still think UFC is delivering. I think it's just another place to distribute the product, basically.
Yeah, it's just weird. I'd have to go
but
back.
You're right.
And I can't remember what I read.
I saw that. I think a lot of people assume that, and I don't think that was the case. I'll get that cleared up.
What did the initial press release say? Do you remember?
I can't remember.
They just announced it. They just announced. It didn't say. It didn't address it. So I think people were like, "Oh shit, this must be in reaction to." I'll reach out.
Worse timing for a new partner release than after that. They should have waited like a month.
It is an easy app to use, though. I like it.
It is. All right. I wanted to talk to you. You were in Edmonton last week for UFC 215.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's Thursday by now. People have done their post-fight shows and that sort of thing. But I did want to talk to you real quick. One thing I wanted to bring up is the main event. The main event was such a close fight, man. It really was. And I did think that Amanda Nunes had done enough to win that fight. But I certainly didn't. I didn't think it was a robbery by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
But I understand people that said I think Shevchenko won the fight. Like I get it, man. I totally understand how people could think that. But I think Amanda Nunes won the fight. That said, the one thing I took out of this was the little tiny subtle changes in the way you say things can have such an impact on fans. And I thought that Amanda after that fight saying the plan was to go 5 rounds. I was trying to go for the decision to show people that I can fight 5 rounds. I thought that was an absolutely god-awful way to say it. Now, here's the thing.
And that's a total reversal of everything that she said leading up to it.
Well, that's true, too. But going into the fight, everybody said, listen, if Amanda wins this fight, it's going to be early, right? Because she's dangerous early and she's going to come out. Now, if it goes late, that's Valentina because she has the cardio advantage. She's the one that can go longer. Yeah. And that's all true, right? That's all true. But for Amanda, I think it's very easy to like people say, well, what was up with your performance tonight? If you say, listen, I knew that I needed to be ready to go 5 rounds. Valentina is a very tough challenger. She's proven over time that I knew that I had to be ready to go 25 minutes. I had to pace myself. I had to fight a technical fight. But then I think people may go, all right, I understand. But when you come out and say the plan was to go to a decision to show people that I can go 5 rounds, there is literally no fan in the world that says, you know what, I want to pay to watch you go 5 rounds, right? I mean, you want to pay to watch somebody try to finish the fight. And I just thought it was bad. And I don't know if it's – I mean, of course, we know that English is her second language. Amanda has done a great job of learning Portuguese.
Right, there's always that.
I think she's pretty much self-managed. I remember at one point we were trying to set up an interview with her through the UFC, and I think they basically told her just reach out to Nina. We set up everything through Nina. So I think that she's basically self-managed along with Nina. And so I don't know if maybe that's the problem, that like she doesn't have a sounding board to kind of look at it from the outside looking in and say, hey, make sure if this is your line of thinking, you don't say that, or there's another spin. But I don't know, man. I feel like Amanda's so talented, and I feel like she does. This wasn't the most exciting fight ever, but it wasn't the worst fight ever.
Right.
And I feel like it's just a weird stylistic matchup. I think Amanda's going to wreck a lot of chicks in that division, and this is just a tough stylistic matchup for her. This is why it was number 1 versus number 2 in the world. But I don't know, that quote just left me with a sour taste in my mouth. But I thought I understood where she was coming from, but just presented it the wrong way.
Yeah. I don't know. It's everything leading up to that when she's like, I'm going to be definitive, I'm going to prove that the first one was kind of like a fluke. Like everything before that, she said that she was going to be, she was going to finish her, she was going to do all this stuff. And if you, after the fact, were going to say, my plan was 5 minutes, or 5 rounds I want to do, I mean, she should have said, my plan was, for 5 rounds, I'm just going to control the octagon, not throw any punches, but hope that I'm going to get the decision at the end. I mean, she was very inactive most of that fight. I, like you, I'm not upset about the decision because, Valentina didn't do as much as she could to really push the pace. I thought she did more. I have the benefit, the judges didn't, of hearing and seeing the stat counts, watching it as it was going. I'm seeing Valentina getting the better numbers. One that kind of, I won't lie, was shaping the way I was watching the fight.
Of course.
I also went into the fight not wanting, but picked Valentina. Could that have made me a little more biased as the fight went on? Of course, I realized that. But I also realized both of them were very, it was definitely a tactical fight, in the sense of one was controlling the center. They were waiting. They were both wanting a counterpunch. I thought Amanda, if she was going to do it, I thought she would have came out right from the get-go and just pressed the pace, pushed it, tried to did some damage. But I think when she did do it a couple times, she got caught, and then she was like, all right, let's just stick with, let's control the center. She's smart enough to realize that if that kind of wins it, or weighs some favor. I thought it was pretty even going into the 5th. And unfortunately for Valentina, when Amanda got that top position, I don't think she was doing any damage at all. She wasn't doing anything.
But
Valentina
she was in
thinks,
top position.
Yeah, Valentina was in fact saying, adamantly how she was doing more damage from the
but
bottom.
But you have to do so much on bottom to win a round. So much.
But in the sense of when you go back and then, do we need to reassess what we think about when somebody's just in top position? Because when you look at what Amanda did, how many strikes did she even throw at the point? I think less than 5. I mean, but
it's like testing positive for weed and then going back afterwards and saying I don't think we should test for weed. You know what I mean? You ain't winning a round on the bottom, so don't be on the bottom.
We shouldn't test for weed, but that's a whole other discussion.
I agree.
But you're right. I mean, it was not the fight that it lived up to be, but I mean, it did. I was still into it because there was always that moment. It was the anticipation of waiting for the fight that we all thought could happen for it to finally start happening. So I was still into it for that, but. I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like it was a robbery by any means. I thought Valentina could have did more, and I hate to be one of these guys like, the next fight will be different because we thought this was the fight this fight's going to be different because she saw how, if she just had those 2 extra rounds, she'd do so much more, and she did do more, but it still didn't do enough to clearly leave it, and Amanda did just enough. And with that last round of being able to take that takedown, and some people were talking about, when she tried to do that headlock, where eventually Amanda, took her back, where I was even in the back, like, because, Ari and all of us are talking like, oh, that was really dumb of her trying to do that headlock. I was like, I don't think she's trying to do a headlock. I think she tried to do a judo toss, and it just didn't work out, and she got her back taken.
Yeah,
but,
she was trying to do the head
but
on.
it was probably something that 9 times out of 10 worked.
Right.
But that particular point didn't work, and this is the game where, we've seen guys like Chael Sonnen tried that stupid,
spinning back fist.
And it's like, what are you doing? Stick with what works, but shit comes out. That's the wonderful nature about this sport. Guys and girls pull these things out of their hat, and when it works, we're like, you're a fucking genius. And when it doesn't, you're like, oh, why did you do it? You know? But I hate to think that the fight didn't pivot and end on that point right there. It's unfortunate, but I mean, it was pretty. I was pretty moved by the fact of how adamant that Valentina was in the post-fight presser.
Oh, she was tense.
She's like, I
pissed.
do not agree. Yeah, she was so
She's gonna be
into it.
She's gonna be a beast at 125.
Dude.
No doubt about it. She's gonna be a beast
So
at 125.
so I mean that decision is what it is. What's next for both of them, and what's interesting? I mean, what does Nunez have ahead of her that's going to garner any interest?
Well,
Raquel Pennington. I mean, she's on a 4-fight win streak,
know.
but is that something you really get excited about?
Yeah,
I'm excited.
people are talking about that. I'm like, that doesn't move me. I think
I'm excited
Rocky's
for
a beast,
125.
but I'm like, I'm with you.
I'm excited for
with you.
125.
I mean, and why is so many people are hating on Tough 26 right now? The talent of the women. I'm not worried about 126 or 125 division. There are so many good fighters in that division. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch that division. But
I do too.
people are hating on it. Why are people hating on the show?
I mean,
why are they hating?
I didn't know they were hating on it. To be honest, I've enjoyed it.
A lot of people I've seen, just people. I mean, don't quote me and ask me to quote people, but I mean, I've seen a lot of hate on it, and I just don't agree with it. I have no worries about the 125, but Valentina coming into that division, holy shit. She's tough as nails at the bantamweight division.
Pennington's probably next, but I mean, you got Zingano,
She needs to win a
Pena,
fight.
but they got to win.
She has to win a fight.
If they win one, you know what I mean. You got storylines you can sell there. So, Cejudo looked phenomenal, by the way.
Dude,
beast.
That was a whole nother Henry.
Dude, look, he's
whole nother Henry.
That
I was worried about him because at the weigh-ins, he looked just.
Oh yeah, he's not. He doesn't look great on the scale.
He doesn't, but I think ultimately, and a lot of people are saying it wasn't even an option. I thought though that the way that he looked like he had been pushing himself, the way that he came in, he had still half a pound to go. Mm-hmm. I thought he was trying to push himself to make it so that he can actually try to go for the flyweight if they offered it for him.
Right.
Is what I was kind of thinking.
Right.
That he pushed himself even further, so he depleted himself more than he needed to because he looked a lot rougher. And I don't know if that was just a matter of his team's like, hey, let's just do it. Just you never know. You never know. But after the fact, when we look at it from 2020 vision, after the fact that it wasn't even an option, but he seemed more depleted in the weigh-in than he needed to. I appreciate the fact that he was trying to get down to what the weight is and not use that extra pound. Mm-hmm. But there was just something inside of me watching. My gut was telling me that he was trying to push himself so that if he had to get to the title weight, that he could get there.
Makes sense.
Because
he looks rough on the scale.
He looked
dude.
really rough.
He always looks rough on the scale.
But he looked so good fight night.
He looked good, dude. He looked really good.
He has grown leaps and bounds.
Oh, he's
from that
a
last
monster.
fight.
He's an absolute monster. Tyson Pedro changed his walkout song and it cost him.
Yep, Tyson. We told you not to change your song.
Just telling you, dude.
Who was it? Was it like Mariah Carey or
Mariah Carey? Which is
something.
still fun. It's still
no, it's fun.
Still fun.
That's the thing. He came out.
Singing
He comes out loose as all get out, and I think Latifi looked. Latifi looked really good. I mean, and this is the guy. Latifi's like one of those guys that I feel like. There's other times I watch him, I'm just ready to write him off. And after watching this fight, I realized that I can't just immediately try to write him off because he did what he did to Tyson was just fucking incredible.
Well, there's always like one or two people that kind of overperform, I would say, in terms of where they are in the card and what our traffic was, clicks and stuff. Arjan Bueller was that guy.
Holy cow.
The Indian connection there.
Yeah.
I mean, came in, got the win, hard fought. But, the traffic that we got on social media, on MMAjunkie, seeing the clicks that were coming from India, basically. I mean, we get these global reports of where traffic is coming from. It's amazing when you see a guy with a certain heritage, and people can identify that's their first guy, the first Welsh fighter, the first, whatever it is. Somebody can identify with this guy, and you hate to compare anybody to Conor McGregor, obviously, because that's a different level. But it is like that when a country or a people can identify with their guy. This is
dude's
our
sick.
guy. Yeah.
Literally and figuratively.
But but that was the guy. I guess that was the.
Yeah.
I wouldn't necessarily say a surprise because I think we kind of expected to see it, but it was one of those things where here's a fighter that wins on the prelims, and his fight report, his post-fight interview, all that, it does kind of more traffic than you would expect. But I think it's always cool to see stuff like that.
Yeah, he handled himself just amazing in the octagon and afterwards.
His interview was great.
Yeah, his interview was great. I just felt like wondering, like, God, why haven't I known about this guy before? I mean, like, dude has everything in him to bring some more star quality, and I think anything that can reach new demographics and bring new people in to watch the sport that we all love, I think is amazing. But yeah, I mean, just listening to him talk, man, I was just like, you just can't help but just like the dude.
What do you say? There's 1 billion Indian people and 1 billion Indian people in India and 3 billion Indian people like worldwide.
Something along
he
those
said
lines.
the incredible number. The UFC has wanted to go to India forever. Hell, we know people that work for the UFC that went and did like fact-finding missions over there, basically, and went and visited. The economy's not great, so you don't.
That's
you
the
don't
part.
have a lot of money, but
it'd be rough to do an event.
The
over
number
there.
of people is staggering, man. And when you start seeing that, it's.
But watching the comments and seeing people do it, like they are ready to just root behind this guy, and watching him. I don't see why he can't become mainstream. Even just outside of the Indian population, I can see a lot of just people just like, dude's a badass. And he's jovial. He's fun.
Was he the guy that I think I read online that he was going to have the WWE champion
walking
out with him,
Jinder
Mahal?
As well, but I guess he was stuck in Florida, basically. The hurricane.
Oh, was that what it was?
Is the reason he couldn't get up there, and so that's the reason he didn't walk him out. But otherwise, he was. I think in the post-fight interview, he said he owns like 3 or 4 properties down there.
Something like
family and his dog was there, so he had to stick around. Similar to what happened to Thiago Alves, obviously. So anyway, UFC 215 ended up being. I think, as we said, a fun card. Even though it didn't have the sexy main event, but it ended up being a fun card. Sarah Morris and her wildness, man. She is great. The Rick Glenn looked phenomenal. Poor Gavin Tucker ran into a freight train there. Alex White looked like a damn beast. Jeremy Stevens looked incredible.
It was a fun fight week. I mean, the event, just the venue itself, too, it was probably, we always, a lot of times we're always like, oh, Canadians are so nice, except for young Mike Bond. Just kidding. The venue and the staff were probably hands down some of the best, most helpful staff that we've ever had. Whereas, say in T-Mobile, we get done at T-Mobile, we're working out in the tent, they literally will turn the lights off or turn the heat on, turn the AC off, and then to try to boot us out. These guys were like, stay as long as you need. I was like, they're like, how long do you think you need? I was like, hey, like an hour or two, and the guy's like, he's like, I practically live here. Just take as long as you need. It's like my home. Just stay. And literally, probably an hour or so later, the guys come back in the room, and of course, at that point, it's just me and Mike. And the guy's like, I was just kind of kidding about whether you just stay all night. I was like, I apologize. I literally just got one more video going. He's like, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. He's like, really? Stay as long as you need. It's not a big deal.
As long as all you need is like the next 5 minutes or so.
But they actually grabbed their stuff that they needed, and they left. So literally, it was me and Mike sitting in the room. They still had the lights on. We're in the Hall of Fame, the Oilers Hall of Fame. That's where the room was. And the 2 dudes left. Yeah, security had all left, for the most part. I'm sure they were more on the internal. Because at that point, all we had to do was just walk out one door that was locked and then walk out the main door to the Rogers place, which was locked. And that was it. But, yeah, at that point, it's not like we could take any of the, huge Stanley Cups that were, secured and all the other stuff.
But you ought to see this really cool Oilers jersey I got at my house right now.
I got this, actually, Gretzky thing in my house right now. But it was incredible. But the staff, even all week, was just hands down. So I can't say enough about, whatever the numbers come and whatever it is, for the UFC to decide to go to a place. I know personally as a media member and as a fan that went there to watch the show, the amount of respect and the help that the staff and that the venue gave me. I was like, dude, I'd go back next week.
The fans still showed up too.
They were amazing. Yeah, it was a good show.
Good.
So kudos Edmonton.
What
and
about
Rogers
RDA?
Place.
Are we overlooking him?
No, dude. No, I picked him in that fight, man, and I thought he looked phenomenal.
Former champion that moved up and looked really
he looks
good.
Good, man. He's
is he next in line? Probably not, but he's
damn close though.
Yeah, he's
right there.
He
in the
looked
mix.
fantastic.
Who are we talking about?
RDA.
Oh,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you went from Edmonton to what could have been a week off for you.
Yeah. But wait. We got to talk about one fight that we haven't even touched upon real quick, just for a moment. What about that leg of Gil Melendez?
Oh, well, I said Jeremy Stevens was like a beast. Gil Melendez, man, God bless him. Ben Folks wrote an awesome column this week. If you haven't checked it out, it's about the difference between tough and stupid, basically.
Yeah.
When he's in the corner, and you didn't have you get to hear the audio, so maybe you did.
Yeah.
But in between round 2 and 3, when he said it after round 1. He told his corner, "I think I'm done." And then he said it again.
I didn't actually hear that. I heard that after the fact, but
he
I didn't
said
hear
it
that.
again between rounds 2 and 3. He's like, "Guys, I think I'm done." His corner's like, fuck that. You can go back out. They're like, dude. I respect it, man. And like I said, I think Ben Folks just killed it with his column on this. But, dude, self-preservation, man.
Yeah.
At that point, 10 minutes in, I think we all felt pretty comfortable with what the result was. You know what I mean? And Jaron Villel, I believe, was the referee for that one. And I've talked with Jaron. He's a great guy, and he's fully committed. And I think he wanted to stop the fight, but he also didn't. You know what I mean? You can see him kind of try to rush in, and there's
there was at one point where I thought he was going in to stop it.
Yeah, and I know it's tough because you don't want to stop a fight on leg kicks, but the dude every time
if a guy can't stand and he's falling.
Stand. I mean, Gil's so tough, man.
See, Jeremy even kind of addressed it. He's like, well, there was a couple points where he thought that the ref was going to stand in there and stop it. And when he did it, then Jeremy got into his head like, okay, this guy's going to let it go. So there was that one point where you actually saw the ref kind of come in. Jeremy kind of stops him. So he's like, no, and kind of touched on him because I think he already got in the head like, all right, this guy's obviously not stopping the fight. So let me just do what I need to do to actually make it end.
Right.
To finish this, but what an incredible fight! But yeah, the whole time it was almost uncomfortable watching it because I was like, "Holy fuck! I don't want to see this happen." I didn't want to see bone break through the knee or any sort of thing, but just to watch him not be able to stand. I mean, I don't think there's anybody out there ever that would say that Gil has no heart.
Oh, hell
doesn't want to put in there.
I mean, not that anybody would have ever said that to begin with.
Right, but you're right. It gets to a point where it's like sometimes.
Too tough for your own good, man.
Too tough for your own good.
And
that's
as
what
a corner's
supposed
to do.
Yes,
you got to save your guy. You got to save your guy. And there's a ton of reasons why they don't. MMA is different in boxing that you can get a quick rear naked choke. You can get a quick arm bar. You can get something quick that comes out of nowhere. And the other thing, too, is your finances are tied so much to your win bonus. Half your check is on the line. Motherfucker, I don't want you throwing a towel in and taking half my check away. But he was doing some damage when he hit. Somebody has to save those guys from themselves.
He did do some damage when he was able to stand, when Jeremy stopped doing the leg kicks and he kind of came forward and Gil was able to land some shots. I was like, wow, wait,
a little
there's
bit.
that moment. There's that moment, but I hate to think
that
that justifies
fall down.
that. Yeah, that I hate to use that justified the fact for the corner to say, see, you still had moments.
Yeah.
Because there is a point where the damage that's taking place that leg, just feel like that's like the kind of stuff that eventually that just makes the end of your career closer and closer.
Exactly.
So, hey, Tammy's in the house.
Things are looking up. Boomers on it. Our favorite bartender showed up and just brought us beers without even asking. I thought we were going to have to end the segment just so I could go get another beer.
Well, eventually.
Well, we're going to have to. It's getting kind of long.
Yeah.
But, all right, so let's say I did. So
now you can transition. I apologize.
You started talking too long about fucking Apple, dude.
What? Oh, with the technology? Yeah, I apologize.
So
what a bunch of shit. I love Android. Fuck Apple.
If you're still listening and didn't tune out during Technology Corner, all right, hey, so I did want to ask, though, so this week, big fight in town. Triple G.
Wait, who's in town?
Canelo, Saul Alvarez, Gennady Golovkin, big boxing match. It's crazy because, you're talking about two of the top pound-for-pound fighters in the world. I want to ask, because you basically volunteered yourself to help out USA Today, and you were like, hey, guys, I'm here. I can go get the footage for you. A, what in God's name were you thinking? Did you not get enough boxing?
I have no idea.
And B, I don't know, what has this week been like? You've done boxing before. It's not like this is the first boxing event you've done outside of Mayweather McGregor. But I'm curious why in the hell you put yourself back in the fire.
I don't know.
So quickly after that nonsense.
Yeah, explain why.
And what this week has been like. Give me the comparison since you've been on the ground all week. What's the feeling like compared to 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, it actually is better in the sense that, we had MMA and boxing media for the MMAC week. This is just boxing media, and there's while there is quite a bit of media there, it just doesn't have as much craziness as that MMAC that you're running into, and I'm not exactly sure why that is. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that this is two of the best fighters out there right now in what most people say is probably the best boxing event that's going to happen this year, is the only reason why I was like, I felt bad not trying to reach out and say, hey, by the way, do you guys want any of this stuff?
Right.
I'm here in town. Even though we have an event, I'm just kind of being a remote editor this week, and Maddie Erickson's doing a great job of handling a lot of that forefront, so I kind of have that freedom to kind of go. So I was like, I'll reach out and cover this. And I told you before, I didn't think I was going to get credentialed for it.
Right, yeah.
Because by the time I reached out to it, I was already after the window closed. So I, put my credential in halfway expecting that they were going to say.
Promotions who just finished working with you.
Yeah,
you know what
total
I mean?
Different group of people. This is Golden Boy and all these other guys that I was like, and they even said it. Hey, by the way, you put this after the fact. Don't get your hopes up. You're probably not going to get credentialed. So I just assumed I wasn't going to get credentialed. And then lo and behold, when they reply back, hey, by the way, here's your credential. I was like, okay, now I got to do it, which is fine because for the most part, it's the same little things, cover the arrivals, cover, the weigh-ins, which is going to take place tomorrow, cover the presser, cover the post-fight. For the most part, it's an easy enough lift, but just going in there and dealing with the same stuff that frustrated us during the MMAC, dealing with the rights and the love that they give to broadcast partners, and then sort of the disdain and the hate of us other camera people for other outlets, even though your outlets, I guarantee, get a lot more traffic than a lot of these broadcast ones. But, it is what it is. But if it wasn't for such a big fight, which is interesting because Canelo Alvarez is one of these guys that, not being, and I'll be the first step, not being the biggest boxing fan since when I was a kid and used to watch Tyson and Sugar Ray Leonard and Hagler and all those guys. Like, those are the cats I remember. I don't know a lot of boxers, but I did, caught on to Canelo Alvarez, as he was coming up. And me, 2 years back, had no idea who Triple G even was.
Right.
Now to see that this fight, and see the two huge stars.
It's about as good as it gets right now.
This is as good as it gets. And for a guy like me that doesn't know shit about boxing, for me to know who it is, I know it's huge in the boxing world. And to listen to these boxing pundits and to hear everybody that was talking so much shit about the MMAC affair, talking like this is the fight you got to watch. This is representative of what boxing is today. These are the two of the best, doing what they do, willing to put their reputations and their records on the line. I felt bad if I didn't do it. So yeah, I've jumped into that this week and trying to cover some of that and get some sound of some of that. And, regardless, yes, I know we're all in the MMA bubble, but it's fighting. This is combat sport. So to the discipline and the training these guys have to do, regardless, it's different than what we're used to seeing these guys because I think the game plan is a lot different. The techniques obviously are a lot different because they're only using a fraction of what, most of the fighters we see. But, I mean, for most of us, before the MMA came around, this is all we knew.
Right.
So I think it's good for us to kind of keep that tradition alive, regardless of whether we like to think that MMA is much more exciting, which I do, and I much more rather watch. A lot of that came from it. And this is a huge discipline that does take place within MMA. There's a lot of people that say, oh, there's MMA striking and then there's boxing striking. Yes, that's true because I think there's a lot of fundamentals, but I mean, ultimately it's still striking and striking. If you're punching and you're boxing, you're boxing. I hate when people are like, oh, okay, well, that guy's an MMA, he's an MMA striker. And this guy, oh, he's a pure striker.
Right.
I'm like, fuck you. They're both
right.
striking, whether they do damage and they're still using the same tool. So, but you got to give respect to the fact that boxing, for most of us, this is the first thing that we ever knew about when it came to combat sports. So do I ever want boxing to go away? No. I think there were a lot of things inherent in boxing that just leaves your head shaking, how certain outcomes, and I know there's been a lot of history of dirty outcomes of sports and, that nature, but I don't hold any of that shit against the sport, and I certainly don't hold it against this fight. And to just be a part of what most of these people have seen coming out and saying, like, this isn't a fight that people are going to look back 10, 20, 30 years from now. I mean, people said the same thing about Maymack, so I guess it was going to be part of that, but for the boxing purists, this is the fight that they're hanging their hat on.
This is the
boxing
purist
one.
fight of the year.
This is the one that we're all talking about. And Russ is here. He caught some of the stuff. You saw the undercard stuff. I mean, like, was this one of the things that helped brought you into town, or was that just a lucky by chance it came in?
Lucky by chance. But what I want to ask you guys is, you guys are in town for all the big fights. You guys live here. Two-parter. What is your level of excitement for the fight, and what do you think is the buzz in town from the general public for the fight?
I mean, for me, I was excited because I actually knew who they were by this point, which is saying something. Half the time, even when we watched the Mayweather-McGregor fight, half the undercard, or not half, besides the four other main ones, where three of them being title ones, I had no idea who they were. But for me, and a lot of people are going to hate on me or whatever, but I mean, like, it's just, I take it upon myself that I need to learn more about the boxing guys or whatever, but to have a fight with two stars that I actually could understand and knew coming up, I was very excited about it, and I'm catching that from all over. I'm like, my girlfriend absolutely loves Canelo. If there's a guy that she would walk out on me right now and just never think again about me, it would be Canelo. I mean, this dude, and being in the arrivals and watching the fans, the Mexican fans, but as well, they were Mexican fans, they were Whitey fans. I mean,
but here's the thing.
He's a character that I think people just absolutely adore. And Golovkin's got the same thing on his side.
But here's the thing is, and to answer your question, this fight definitely means a lot in the boxing community, and I think the tourists have showed up for it. The Mexican fans certainly have come in for this fight.
Like
but what I don't believe is, I don't believe that this fight has captured the Las Vegas core audience like a Mayweather fight does. You got Canelo that doesn't speak English. You got Triple G, who's never fought here before.
Right.
So I believe that this definitely is a huge fight, national attention, international attention. I believe that the tourists have come in to watch this fight, the Mexican tourists especially. Right. But as far as, like, just,
having the locals walk up and buy a ticket.
No, I don't think it's captured the way like a Mayweather. Like when Mayweather fights here, he lives here. He does a shit ton of media.
Yeah.
When he fights, you know what I mean? I
think it's tough to compare to that. Like, nobody compares.
What would you compare it to Kovalev Ward? How would you compare it? Is it similar or is it more? Because
Ward's a beast.
Yeah, Ward's a beast. I think I would say maybe even, I don't want to say less. It's about the same as far as just a local. And I'm just talking about a local interest.
Yeah.
I mean, the damn fight sold out.
Well, they sold out the building, yeah.
Yeah, so
it sold out within days, or was it a couple weeks?
Pay-per-view sales are going to be good. It's going to be good. Pay-per-view sales are going to be impacted by Maymack. There's no question about that. Spend $100, but to me, this is the kind of fight that this is what I would recommend to people, because it's going up again. And most people listening to this podcast are MMA hardcores, right? This to me is the perfect Saturday night. That if you can find a local bar that is showing the pay-per-view and is showing the fights, like I do think this boxing match is worth trying to get your eyes on. If you're not a huge boxing fan, I don't know that it's worth your $50, especially if you just dropped 100.
70.
Is it 70?
$69.99.
So is it worth your 70?
I was ouch.
Especially if you just dropped 100.
Yeah.
Especially if you just dropped 100. Probably not. But is it worth maybe if you got one of those man caves with two TVs set up where you can bring your boys over and you can have the UFC fights on one and the boxing on
which is
the
one
other?
thing we have not touched on. Rockhold is fighting this
They're
weekend.
We're gonna get there. I was
gonna say, and it's a little bit. They're actually starting.
But that
to
shows
Pay this guy $20 to endorse the show. Now he wants to produce.
No, but
it.
that shows the buzz. I mean, there really isn't much buzz.
They are starting
for the
a little bit
Pittsburgh
early.
Fight,
Too.
yeah.
Like the fights are starting at like 5 o'clock local time, I think.
Right.
So they're going to be done early. And I want to say that was done in conjunction. They're a little smart.
They knew it was
because I think that fight's going to be done before the UFC fight's done.
All right. Well, listen, we got to get to that fight too. We don't talk about it as much when we're not there because we know.
Yeah.
Listen, this is the road show. This is John Morgan and Cold Coffee's perspective. We're not in Pittsburgh, so unfortunately, Pittsburgh gets a little bit of shaft. But you're right, the buzz isn't there.
But no,
all right. But listen, what I want to do is because I got to go pee. And this has been the longest segment in MMA roadshow history.
No, but it has been very long. We'll blame
Thanks
Russ
to
for that. We
Technology
have a guest.
Corner.
We have a guest
That's
star.
what she
Technology
said.
Corner. Oh! So listen, while we do that, why don't you set this up? Because what I thought is, listen, you were out there getting this Triple G
I did.
audio.
I got
this
some audio.
Canelo audio. So while I go and handle my – well, not handle my business. That sounds a little bit wrong when we know what I'm about to
We
go
know what
handle.
you do in the
But
bathroom.
You know what I'm about
We
to go
know
do.
what you handle.
What are we going to hear, my friend?
All right, so right now we're able to capture some audio from the media day, and how we're going to start it and how we're going to preface it is speaking about how big this event is. Bernard Hopkins, a champion in his own right, was there and actually set up, and he spoke a little bit about what this event means for boxing. And then after we hear from him talking about what this event means for boxing, let's hear from the two actual fighters themselves. We're going to start off, we'll have a little Triple G. Well, should we start with the challenger first? So we'll go to Canelo, and then we'll take it to Triple G. And then, we'll let you listen to the fighters because I think it's pretty exciting to, hear us talk about the fight. But let's let the actual boxers talk about the fight.
This next gentleman, not only did he break records and defend his title 20 times, but he was always willing to fight the very best at the peak of his career. And so it is my pleasure to introduce to you my partner at Golden Boy Promotions, the living legend, Bernard Hopkins.
Thanks, Oscar, and everyone that played a role in getting this historic moment to where we at now. The middleweight division goes all the way back, as most people in here know. I mean, I'm going back Ray Robinson when he moved up from welterweight, and even coming all the way up to, as Oscar mentioned, to the great marvelous Marvin Hagler. But this fight here, and I love history, and I like to look at tapes every now and then, even to the day. And I thought about when I got here yesterday from Philadelphia, the fight that really stands out to me when it comes to Golovkin and Canelo, and I see the danger in the first couple of rounds of the way both of them fight and the way one is more aggressive. And the first thing I thought about, if you remember the Marvin Hagler and the John the Beast Mugambi. John the Beast Mugambi was a guy that was destroying everybody, even the middleweights from Philadelphia. And anyone up here know about boxing, know about that era. And my era was my era, but now we're in this era, and I'm glad to witness it from a historic point of view and also from a promotional point of view. So I'm very blessed, not lucky. It was meant to be. And I'd like to thank everybody that played a role in making this happen because, if you look at the time between 2001 in Madison Square Garden with Felix Trinidad and myself to 2017, don't judge me if I'm a year off, I think that's 16 years. It doesn't happen all the time, but when it do happen, embrace it, enjoy it, and understand that history don't always repeat itself. But one thing will repeat themselves is the pride of the vision that I felt that my career was made and built on as the foundation that got me all the way up to the end. And so, Canelo and Triple G, thanks for respecting the division that made me. So, and enjoy it, fans, reporters from all over, and understand that history is something that we should always remember. The definition of that doesn't happen all the time. And no matter who you choose, no matter where you go, that'll never be forgotten what happened come the 16th on HBO pay-per-view. Thank you.
Les quiero presentar con un récord de 49-1 y 34 knockouts de Guadalajara, Jalisco, México, Saul Canelo Alvarez.
I want to introduce you from Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, with a record of 49-1, Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Muchas gracias a todos por estar aquí. Gracias por todo su apoyo que siempre me brindan.
Thank you to everyone for being here, and thank you so much for all the support that you always give me.
Tampoco me gusta hablar mucho, simplemente decirles que estoy listo, estoy preparado para esto. Sé que va a ser una pelea muy dura.
And you know me, I don't like to talk a lot. I just want to say that I'm prepared. I know what it's going to be. It's going to be a tough fight. I know that.
Pero estoy listo para esto, una pelea que ustedes querían ver, aquí está. Disfrútenla como yo la voy a disfrutar. Nos vemos el 16 de septiembre.
And that's what I'm ready for. I just want you to all enjoy it like I'm going to enjoy it. I'll see you all on Saturday night.
Zabadoo! Good afternoon, everybody. Really, I'm very happy. Good to see everybody in Vegas. First of all, I want to tell thanks to promotions. It's a great job, amazing job, Golden Boy and Triple G Promotions. I want to thank thanks to sponsor who support me, who support this event. To partners, of course, to HBO pay-per-view. It's huge time for boxing. I don't want to talk too much, I'm ready. I respect Canelo's team. I know this is the biggest day for us, and not for us, for boxing, for this area. Finally, please welcome September 16, T-Mobile Arena. It's huge history fight. I see you September 16. Thank you very much.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow Marathon Edition.
Asterisk, finish line.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was the interested parties of the Triple G Canelo fight this weekend. Big boxing fight. Cold Coffee will be there for that one. And I do think it's worth your time. Of course, UFC Fight Night 116 said, let me say, during the break I said I'd follow up with some people. I did. I was right. You were wrong, so suck it. Fight TV is extra. Get him with the DX crotch shot. Fight TV is an extra platform. New Line still carries everything that they did before, including the pay-per-views. So there you go. Listen to John Morgan moving forward.
No, I don't know.
Also,
I don't know about that.
It is breaking news now as we record this right now at 4:30. It will not be breaking news by the time people are listening to tomorrow. But Felipe Arantes versus Luke Sanders at UFC Fight Night 116 in Pittsburgh is off. Felipe Arantes was rushed to the hospital this morning. You'll have the story up on MMAjunkie any minute now. I helped to confirm that while we were off.
Why is it off?
He had to be rushed to the hospital. Don't know the exact reasons yet. I'm assuming it would be weight cut related, as you would obviously assume any fighter close to making weight would be. But he went to the fight.
Could be
went to the hospital. Fight's off. So it sounds like I'll be talking to Luke Sanders tomorrow morning, hopefully, and find out what happened. What'd you say?
I said it could be sinusitis.
Oh yeah, totally sinusitis. You're an asshole. I'm gonna let her know that you said that, just so she can punch
just don't
you
tell
in the
Conan.
face. Interesting. Oh yeah, Conan's great. Interesting because that means there will be no Fight Pass prelims. Gilbert Burns and Jason Saga will have to be. That was the only Fight Pass prelim that'll have to be moved up to FS1. We'll be down to 10 fights, and there will be no Fight Pass portion of this card. So that's gotta piss the people at Fight Pass off, because obviously they're trying to sell subscriptions.
Should I demand a refund?
Yeah, demand a refund. Like, all I wanted to see was Burns and Sago. Give me some Dorino. Give me Dorino. Give me my money back, bitches. All right. Yeah, so there you go. Some 116 news. I guess real quick.
Can we talk more about the Apple phone?
No. Take your technology corner somewhere else. Rockhold and Branch, big main event there. I am excited for this fight. I know it's kind of flying under the radar a little bit. Branch has looked like an absolute beast since he left the UFC, winning weight classes or winning titles in 2 different weight classes. Luke Rockhold, I feel, is the better fighter if he's at 100%. But is he at 100% with all the injuries and things that he's been dealing with? Obviously, we know he didn't train at AKA. It makes sense why he didn't train at AKA. I mean, his chief primary partners were out You know, hell, I don't think it's bad to get a new look every now and then. You know what I mean? And those camps down in Florida, those cats that are down there are not too bad. I think it's a good fight, man. I feel like if everybody's at 100%, I feel like Luke Rockhold is just a little step above. But this new David Branch, man, if you weren't following his career in WSOF, man, it seems like he turned a corner, at least mentally, if nothing else. I mean, this dude's walking around with a chip on his shoulder, whereas before he was just a guy.
Well, Luke Rockhold, I mean, aside from getting caught from Bisping, I mean, how good did he look before that? You could make a case that, you know, he is, you know, arguably the best middleweight in the world.
Yep.
I mean, what he did to Weidman, he did to who else? He beat Bisping on the way up. He's beat a lot of guys, and he got caught last June, which seems like an eternity ago, because it really is in MMA years. It is a long time ago. But man, if this guy looks good again against David Branch, he's right up in the talks for a. He's got to be 1 or 2.
Absolutely. Big time. So, big fight there. Mike Perry, we lost Thiago Alves in the co-main event. A shitty way to lose a fight for UFC matchmakers, right? I mean, damn it, they're dealing with injuries all the time. Now they got to deal with hurricane issues.
Yeah,
Can't blame
sucks.
Thiago Alves. I think he was having some issues and just didn't want to. I get it. I don't know the full breadth of everything that happened.
He's a South Florida guy, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know the full breadth of what happened. I've been off for a couple days dealing with some personal stuff, as some people know. So I didn't really have my hands all over that. Did get the news that he was out, but I didn't get the full details on exactly what all happened there. But my understanding, it was hurricane related. I just don't know exactly what all the decisions were there. So sucks, because I think that was going to be a great fight. I like watching Mike Perry fight. I know he's not the most palatable guy to some people. He's a little bit controversial, but I love people that come in with that attitude that he does. And props to Alex Reyes for stepping up on, 3 days notice. Like, he didn't even make it in town in time to get to the media day. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
So pretty crazy. Hector Lombard versus Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, a guy that has a special place in my heart. The dude, I've told the story before, but just a brief summary of it was, I met him in in an airport bar one day on a layover, and I had a couple frosty beverages at the time. Believe that, if you can. But he basically walked up to me and was like, "Dude, I'm gonna be in the UFC someday," and he was awesome. We talked. I mean, I'm just shooting the shit. Talked, and then I really didn't know who he was, and I walked away as soon as I had a chance to pull up his Sherdog record or whatever. He was on a 4-fight losing streak at the time, and he was like, "I'm going to be in the UFC," and he was so sure of himself, and damn it if he didn't make it to the UFC. And for that, man, I'll just forever be eternally loving of Anthony Smith, man, a guy that had that kind of perseverance and drive and dedication in his head, even though he was on a 4-fight losing streak at the time. Absolutely freaking amazing. Now he's fighting Hector Lombard, and of course, Lombard's the guy, right? But Lombard doesn't look great lately, and these two guys, the size difference between them is going to be insane. So,
what weight class is this?
Welterweight. No, it's middleweight. Middleweight, sorry.
So Lombard's back at 185.
Middleweight.
Lombard, I would say, has been one of the biggest flops in UFC, like as far as big signings.
Yep.
Like, he flopped out huge. I didn't even know he was on this card until I looked at your screen right now.
Oh, no shit? Oh, man, that's crazy when that happens. That happens with UFC.
Well, he served a sentence, and he served a suspension and everything too, right? I mean,
definitely. Gregor Gillespie, that guy has looked amazing. Jason Gonzalez. Sergio Moraes versus Kamaru Usman. That's a fight that I'm really looking forward to. Justin Ledet is on there as well. He's had some fun fights, taking on the late replacement in Zhu and Yanwu, the Dana White's Contender Series fighter. And then Uriah Hall, Christoph Jocko on the prelims. That could be a lot of fun. Christoph Jocko, a guy that's definitely flying under the radar a little bit. Uriah Hall, a guy that when he's on, he is on. When he's off, obviously, it's tough sometimes. But, the Ron
Tony
versus
Martin,
Sanders fight is
Alvin
awesome.
Mossier.
Tony Martin, man.
That should be a good one.
I like it. There's some fun fights.
Yeah.
Again, not the nothing is up to main match. We're still not there right yet. I mean, Jon Jones is dominating the damn news cycle right now. So, anyway.
It should be a good fight.
That's this weekend.
Good card.
Matt Erickson will be out there in Pittsburgh, so we'll have full coverage of everything. He'll be, taking care of everything there. We'll be helping him out.
Taking care of business.
Yeah. I did want to say real quick, this is episode number 129. Every now and then I talk about the episode number and the UFC number. I don't do it very often, but UFC 129 was pretty damn memorable. That was the 55,000-seat show in Toronto. amazing.
That was right before my time.
Sky Dome, Rogers Center, one of the most amazing visual experiences I've ever had. I will say this, for anybody that didn't see 129 live, the atmosphere was not great. It was not great. The building is huge. Like it's a goddamn baseball stadium.
It's tough to capture the sound in those buildings, right?
It's exactly right, bro. It's tough to capture. The sound was there. The visual was amazing. Like when we first got there as the media, they wouldn't let us down to our seats right away, so they made us like go up to the press box. So you walk into the outside, you go up to the press box in the baseball stadium. The press box is up at the top, and it's open, and so you kind of walk out. And you get that first visual of what it looks like. I mean, that was the first stadium event in UFC history, and you see the 55,000 seats laid out in the octagon in the middle of this baseball stadium. It's like, holy shit! Like the visual of it was amazing. It's one of the most unique visuals. Even though we've done some stadium shows since, it was one of the most unique visuals I've ever seen.
That building is special.
Yeah, the sound wasn't good. The best sound, I'm telling you right now, the best sound, Montreal, the Bell Center, dude. It's like this hockey rink where everything's built on top of each other.
What about Ohio?
Vertical.
Ohio has great sound.
Good.
Ohio's good for everything.
Columbus, the building in Columbus is great for sound, and Cleveland as well. The Quicken Loans Arena is really good for sound. But that I will never forget.
I like it. Another person plug in Ohio.
Randy Couture and Tim Sylvia. That's one of the loudest buildings ever.
Yeah,
they did just come strong there.
Yeah, 129. That was right before I started the UFC. But when I came in, because I started in May of 2011, everybody was still so high on the fact.
You started 1 month after that?
Yeah, because 130 was my first event, but everybody was still so high on the event that happened right before and how earth-shattering and changing it was.
It was a great event.
Yeah, it was
two title fights, Randy Couture send-off.
Yeah.
That was when he got his tooth kicked out, right, by Machida?
Yeah, Machida kicked his tooth out and got knocked out of the night. Poor John McDessie had this badass spinning back fist knockout on the prelims, didn't get 50 G's for that.
That was the Mark Hominick hematoma, right?
It was.
With Jose Aldo, yeah. That was. I remember watching that at a bar, and the place was packed, and I was really, really excited for that fight.
One of the greatest entrances ever, man. Mark Hominick, he was the first one that I remember in UFC history using the P. Diddy coming home.
Coming home, yes.
Yeah, but you had like the Canadian flag, because this is the first stadium event we'd ever done. So, the big, scoreboard with the Canadian flag, and the UFC had done a graphic where it was like, the flag was waving, and there were like snowflakes coming down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then it was the coming home, and it was like, oh shit! Sean Tompkins, man, the late Sean Tompkins was just, dude. Man, it's always emotional for me, talking about that fight because like he was so adamant that he had such respect for Jose Aldo. Like it was cool talking to him off the air, like behind the scenes, about how much respect he had for Jose Aldo. I remember him breaking down his leg kicks and the way he threw them at the downward angle, and the point that we're seeing now, that low leg kick. Aldo would kick you right below the knee, whereas like a lot of guys would aim for your thigh, and he would aim for that low leg kick, and he would kick it with that down. And Sean Tompkins would talk about how much respect he had for that. He had all the respect in the world, but he thought his guy Hominick, had what it took to win that fight, and that was such a big moment in UFC history. And yeah, man, dude, Roy McDonald looked like a beast on that card, man. I don't know. So it's funny, little numbers stand out in my head sometimes, man. That was
Mark Hominick. I won't go too much into it, but I met him at. You guys remember the Sacramento card in Fox where it was pretty much Team Alpha Male? It was DJ and Benavidez where it knocked out Benavidez.
Mm-hmm.
It was Faber, all these guys. I met Hominick up there, and Hominick, without knowing me, there was an issue with, I forget what it was. It was an issue with my credit card, and we were at the airport together.
Maxed it out at the strip club the night before.
No, I just flew in that day. We flew in together. This guy, not knowing me, got a rental car for me in his name for the weekend.
What?
Yeah. Crazy story. And
so you just ran into it like the rental counter or what?
Well, I met him. So I was connecting in Chicago from Boston. I was going out to the show. There was a bunch of MMAjunkie radio listeners going. Gorgeous George was there. There was a bunch of us. And I met him in Chicago before we jumped on the plane. I was like, hey. And I met him and Mark Delagrate. I says, hey, I'm a big fan. I says, I'm going to the fights too. Cool. So we got off the plane and we're walking over. And he says to me, hey, you want to split a cab over to the Fighter Hotel? I says, well, I got a rental car booked. I don't know what happened with my credit card or whatever. It was, but they gave me a really hard time
So
about
he was
it.
like, I'll roll with you and your.
Yeah, and he's like, there's my credit card. He put it down.
No, but I mean, so you said I got a rental, so he's like, I'll roll with
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's like, he said to me, well, and then they would give me a really hard time about it. I remember we waited like a half hour in line for that fucking rental car. And he's like, and I'm like, well, I'll just, they gave me a hard time about it. I'm like, well, I only had like one credit card on me, and I was like, I'll take care. He said, no, just put mine down, blah blah blah. And we rode over to the arena, and he was a super cool guy. I don't know if you've ever had a few beers with Mark Hominick. When Mark Hominick gets a few beers in him, he is like 10 times more fun.
Definitely.
And I won't tell the whole story, but I had Gorgeous George there winding him up the whole time, and it was just a very unforgettable experience. But I'll always be grateful for him. He threw his credit card down for me without even knowing me to get a rental car in Sacramento.
Did you pay for it when you dropped the car off, or did it end up going on his tab, or what?
No. I ended up paying for everything, and like he put his card down as a deposit, but I paid cash or whatever, and like.
But still, he could have gotten stuck with the tab, and he was like, I'm in. That's
but
dope.
he was totally cool about it, and like everything worked out perfectly. And once in a while, I'll send him a thank you DM, and we'll talk. We'll go back and forth a couple times. But
that's cool,
yeah,
man.
it was
good shit.
Didn't know me from a hole in the wall, other than he saw me at the connecting flight in Chicago, and he remembered me when we got to Sacramento, and he was like, I got a credit card. Let's do it.
I tell you what, I think that is the best part about this sport, man. The community that we have. And we talked about it before. I mean, even shit like this, just, hey, bro, I'm in town. I'd love to listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Come sit in. You know what I mean? Like, that's fun. I've had situations, man, I remember, and I'll leave the gentleman's name out in case he doesn't want to be known, but a gentleman picked me up from the airport in Milwaukee at 6 a.m. in the morning. He was like, dude, he's like,
Is that John from Jersey?
I'll leave it out in case.
No, he's a good guy. He's a real good guy.
He was like, when you're in town, bro, he's like, I want to take care of you.
He's a very, very nice kid, that guy.
And I was like, dude, well, I'm flying in at 6 a.m., dude. I'm taking a red eye. He's like, fuck it, don't worry about it. I'll pick you up at 6 a.m. And I'm like, bro, I mean, this is a cool community, man. You know
was
what I
this
mean?
before the day of Uber, where it was?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, because I know who this guy is, and I remember that when he went out there, he's a big fan of Dustin Poirier, and he had told me that like even hotels were like 30, 40 minutes away. It's like it's not easy to get around in that. But yeah, I know who you're talking about, and he's a really, really good guy.
All right, I want to share something real quick. I got this email. I got this a couple weeks ago, but I wasn't really in the mood to share it. You guys know I've had kind of a tough time. But I got this email. This is great. This is what we get as operators of an MMA website. I'll leave the gentleman's name out of this as well. But give me just a moment to read this email. Yeah. Hey, MMA Junkie, do me a favor. Nate is not fighting the trilogy next, so could you please tell Steven to take that bullshit down? We're not helping the UFC make money. UFC not bothering us or pissing me off, and we're not talking to them. Let me make it very clear for you to understand. I don't fucking care about helping the UFC make money, unlike these dumbass fucks who just want to keep everything business. Money is not going to fix this. Sorry, there's no periods in here, so it makes it a little tough to read, and random capitalization. Money is not going to fix this personal problem. Learn to separate personal from business. Either Conor defends his title against someone else or leave us the fuck alone, and it's never going to happen, and go about his life. Please and thank you. Please excuse Nate's comment. Do not build the fight up. It's not happening. Case closed. Done. End of story. I don't want to fucking hear it. Shut that bullshit down. Please, and stop being business-minded. You all are annoying as hell with that, I swear. Get on my nerves. Like, for real. Stop turning everything into a game. Get real for once. Seriously. But don't hype the fight. Do not build the fight. Let it go, please. And thank you. I would appreciate it if you all... UFC will have a great year without the trilogy. Don't take Nate's comment seriously. He was just being real. That does not mean the trilogy happening. It's not. Please, just stop. Don't start. Okay, do your job, yes, but don't start. Please and thank you.
He put some of those in all caps.
Now.
He put some of that in all caps, too.
I know. There's some all caps.
That
some random
dude hyped me up so bad. I want that fight now.
A Nate Conor trilogy would tremendously help pay-per-view business.
This is a random email we get. What am I supposed to do with this?
Where did they send this?
News at MMAjunkie.com, support at MMAjunkie.com. Like, literally every MMAjunkie.com address they can find.
You must think that Mick Maynard and those guys are like, well, we were going to book a fight, but, until Junkie supports it, we're not actually going to make that fight happen.
I was like, what the fuck am I
Dude was
supposed to
hyped
do
up.
with this?
Dude was hyped up. Now I want to see that fight more than ever.
crazy, right?
I actually still don't
Random
really give a fuck
emails like
about that fight.
Makes
But
you don't
that's
wanna
the
see
biggest
the
fight.
trilogy?
That's the biggest fight
That's
they
the
got.
biggest fight in the UFC right now.
It's a big fight for sure.
You don't
I
wanna
don't
see
give a
it?
fuck to see it. Nah, whatever.
What?
Whatever.
I'm gonna send you this guy's email, and you can go hang out. You guys can go talk about Apple phones.
I mean, I really don't give a fuck.
This fight will generate a lot of traffic.
Yeah, well, traffic's great. It doesn't do anything for the division. Let's let the division move on.
No.
Hot sports takes right there.
Nah.
Boy.
I like it though. That's fucking hilarious.
We would talk about it, but Technology Corner took too much of our time.
It
so
did.
We'll move on.
It did.
Hey, listen. For anybody that's still listening, A, God bless you. B, if you listen this long, that probably means you listen.
Mom.
Yeah, Mom. I
Your
will
mom.
say. I will
My
say,
mom
exactly.
don't listen.
I
Your
will
mom's
say,
much better.
After an incredibly rough patch, things are going a little bit better in my personal life, which is good because Cole Coffey thought he was getting a new roommate.
wow.
Yeah, he dealt with me for a couple days, and I appreciate that. Our friendship goes a little bit.
I thought the next time I
beyond
came into
air.
town, I could crash with you, but that's not happening.
Not happening. Now
Ouch.
listen, I'll just say things aren't the it's not over. Things are not through the clear, but they are moving in the right direction. And I will say, marriage and parenthood are fucking hard, man. They're not easy, and I guess from my point of view, I'll just say don't take it for granted. If you're out there and you're listening, don't take either of that shit for granted because it can change in a heartbeat. And I was staring a very big life change in the eyes, and it's not over yet, but I realized I need to fucking work on it.
I'm sorry to hear that, John. I'm sorry to hear about all that, but I mean, it's the way sometimes things go, and you just got to make the best of it, you know?
That's it.
Shit got real.
Shit got real, man. That's all I want to tell people. Just
went from the hypothetical
and let me
to
just
the
say,
real.
Let me just say, man, the outpouring of support from people that did hear kind of a little bit of what happened last week, man. I got so many fucking text messages and tweets and direct messages and whatever. And I'll tell you, man, that meant more to me than you guys can ever imagine, man. It helped me go from being pretty fucking depressed to at least in a decent enough place where my wife and I could get together and start talking and try to move things in the right direction. So won't bore anybody with my personal life, but I will just say for everybody that's concerned, things are looking better. And
good to hear. Good to hear.
Keep shit in mind in your own life, man. Being a parent is tough. Being a husband is tough. Work at it, man. Don't forget about it. Don't take it for granted. Because none of us want those big life changes.
Everything takes time and effort, man.
That's it. Now I'm gonna keep day drinking.
Woo! Thirsty Thursday,
Some
baby.
things don't change. Some things don't change.
Yeah.
But that, you know.
Thirsty Thursday, bitches.
Yeah, I can't help it. It's the podcast. Some things have to change. All right. In the meantime, thanks for listening.